coming out to the Lincolnwood Public Library for our program. I'm Julianne Nitzweiss, and we offer a wide variety of programs. While I have you as a captive audience, I just want to mention, as you're leaving, pick up our calendar because we offer technology programs, movies, live music programs, a wide variety available to you. Our big event coming up on April 26th at 7:30 p.m. is our poetry night. You are invited to come out for that. You do not have to share a poem, but if you'd like to get up, we have a stage available. But if you'd like to just hear wonderful poems, it's a great place to come for a poetry night. On June 1st, our summer reading kickoff, we are doing a mini golf in the library. It's going to be amazing and fun. So keep an eye on our calendars. We are offering, this is the first of many of our technology programs, and you may have seen on the table there, ebook help sessions. Ebook help sessions are going to be offered on a regular basis while we have a regular schedule, and it will be posted. If you call Jen Hunt, who's here in the room, over here, Jen, she will be more than happy to make an appointment with you if the listed times do not work. We're trying to use the listed times. She'll be scheduling many out into the next months. This fall, we'll be doing some Microsoft Excel and Word classes, so keep an eye on our schedule for upcoming events. We are very delighted to be able to have this program from FireLogic. They've been doing this in various libraries to great success, and today is Windows 8.1, and Derrick Wlodarz is our presenter. Would you welcome him? Thank you.
So thanks for everyone for coming out on a Saturday morning. I know sometimes it's easier to be doing something else than coming out and learning about technology. But I thought this was a very important class. We've been doing the Windows 8 classes in the other local libraries now for probably the last year or so, a little bit longer than a year. They are almost always full houses, so I'm hoping we can get a few more people in to show up today. But regardless, it's a very good class. Windows 8 is very relevant for everyone because if you're going out and buying a new computer, it's not an Apple, it will be a Windows 8 computer that you're going to be picking up. So we're going to go into, I'm going to show off the start screen, the tiles, the apps, all those different things that are entailed with this new operating system. And I will say, if you brought a device with you, please feel free to take it out and follow along as we're doing things. I mean, I'm not going to go into super detailed, step-by-step on everything, but I'm going to show off a lot of the basics for how to use this system. And as I say, if you have a machine with you, your system, what better way to learn than actually do the things that we're doing up on the screen on your own computer. So feel free to follow along with us as I move along here. 2 sheets, as I said, I've repeated a few times. I have a cheat sheet I gave out for everyone. If you don't have one, let Lindsay know. She's sitting in the back over there, and she will be able to get you one. The cheat sheet is a truncated version of a tip sheet that you can buy on Amazon. This one that we took this from is made by Brainstorm. They make very good guides, not only for Windows, but Office. So we took this out for educational purposes, so I can't share this out too publicly, but if you want an extra copy to print for yourself or to share with someone else, you can shoot me an email and I can get you a digital copy of this for you. Our agenda sheet is the other page that we handed out today. The agenda is, we do this for all of our classes. We're going to tell you as we're going along all the different topics we're covering. There's a lot of content on the agenda. I know it looks scary. Some of the things will be covered briefly. Some of the things I'm going to go into a little more detail on. We've got up until noon, so I'm hoping if timing goes right, based upon other classes we've done of this nature, we can squeeze it all in, and as well as including some time for questions. I love questions because if you're thinking about something that's giving you trouble or something you don't understand, there's probably someone else in this room that's thinking something similar. So please don't feel afraid to ask questions as I'm going along. If it's something short and you want to interject about something I'm showing, just raise your hand and I'll go ahead and make sure it gets answered. If it's a longer question, let's wait till the end so I can have some time to talk it over with the group. Okay? So let's get started here. The class section, I've covered a few other things on the screen over here already, but I will say that the agenda is broken up into logical pieces. And when I say that, I'm going to go over some of the basics. I'm going to have a few slides. We're going to go over the boring stuff. But there are always people that come to our classes that have not purchased a Windows 8 machine yet. So I want to address that crowd as well to tell them some of the things that the salesperson might not tell you. So you know, so you can go out as an informed shopper and purchase a machine that fits you, not just what a salesperson wants to give you. So we'll go over a few basics. I'm going to go over what's called the new start screen, which is what has taken over for the start menu. It is basically a app screen, a tile screen that is built off of the style that the iPad has been using for years now. Now that's introduced into the Windows environment. I'm going to go over the cloud aspects of Windows 8 in terms of OneDrive, and I'll mention a little more about that in just a moment. We're going to be doing a full class on that, deep dive on OneDrive in just a week. And then part 4 is the traditional desktop, and I'm not going to spend as much time on traditional desktop. We've all been using traditional desktop for the last 15 years. If you've used Windows, I'm going to touch on just some of the newer aspects that have changed with the new Windows 8. Okay? So let's keep moving. And yes, Windows 8 is not that tough, so don't bite your nails. Okay, so just a quick word on some of the upcoming classes that we have going on in the area. All these classes are completely free, and I want to mention them because we always get people from different libraries coming to Niles or Park Ridge, Niles coming to Park Ridge or Lincolnwood over other places. So I just want to mention some of the other ones we have coming up. Tuesday night we're doing at Park Ridge Library, actually that is a typo. Park Ridge Library we're doing a Maintaining Your Home Computer for Beginners. All that stuff that textbooks don't teach you, stuff that us geeks only know about, we're going to be showing off with that class. How to keep your computer clean, how to keep it running fast, how to purchase a new computer without getting ripped off, how to do backups the way that professionals do them. All those things that people always ask us about, this is going to be sort of a 2-hour conglomeration of all that interesting stuff that you don't learn in textbooks or in any classes. So we're going to be offering that on Tuesday. We have tech open help desks that happen every single month at Park Ridge Library. We're doing one at Niles Library. You can check their calendars for when we do that. It's basically a 2-hour event where you can come in and ask us any questions you want.
Thank you.
No charge. We will answer anything that you want to throw at us for a 2-hour time span. SkyDrive, now called OneDrive, is a cloud product from Microsoft. It's heavily baked into Windows 8. I'm going to show off some of the functionality here today. It is a free file sync and backup service. So you can save your files to it. You can use Microsoft Office free of charge. A lot of people don't know this, but they offer all the apps from Office completely free in a web browser. We're going to take a deep dive into how that works and how you can leverage it, and that is next Saturday morning. Same start time, just Niles Library. And we're doing an Android tablets for beginners class at Park Ridge Library in late August. There's no set date yet for that, but it will be a night class during the week, so keep your eyes out for that one. Okay? And another neat development are some of our Niles Library classes. We are working hard at offering them in a webcast format. So what that means to you is that potentially some point this summer we're going to be able to start offering our classes broadcasted over the web. So even if you can't make it to the library, or you have someone that has a tough time with mobility that can't make it, we're going to be broadcasting live where people can dial in from their home computer. You can sit at home and still join us in on the class. So we're sort of working out the legal wranglings with that, but we're hoping to start offering that at Niles and maybe other libraries in the near future. But that's a very neat development that I'm very excited about.
You have to sign up for these classes or just drop in?
All of these you have to sign up for except our tech help desks. Those are completely free. You don't have to sign up. But all the other classes you have to pre-register for.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
That's called the Niles Library.
Yeah, so you can call the respective library and they can tell you if there are any open seats available. All right, I'm going to take one brief moment. Already someone asked me about this as I was setting up, so I'm going to mention it because it is something very important in the computer world. If you're using a computer that uses either Windows XP or Office 2003, this is the old operating system that has been around for the last decade or so, longer than a decade. There's probably people with computers that still run these systems. I know you'd asked me about this just previously. If you want, I can give you a copy of the letter we sent out to all of our customers explaining why Microsoft is doing what they're doing and killing off these two products. Long story short, these two pieces of software have been out for 13, 14 years at this point, and Microsoft is saying we're not offering support anymore. So what that means is, come April 8th, just next month, it's 1 month away, if you're still running either of these two systems, you will not be receiving any more support for either of those platforms. So what that really means is, any attackers or hackers out there, the bad guys that write all the viruses, they are going to be collecting all their attacks, and they're going to be waiting until Microsoft ditches support next month for these two programs. So it's going to become much more dangerous to be running these two software programs, especially this Windows XP. There's a lot of bugs in that platform, and we've been telling people we need to start getting off of them. Windows 7 or Windows 8, as we're showing off here today, are good options for you. But if you have a system that's running one of these old pieces of software, especially Windows XP, you need to start making some kind of contingency plans. Because it's going to become quite dangerous to run these two programs, okay? And I just read a few days ago that the Microsoft Store is offering like a $100 bounty. If you bring in an old Windows XP computer and you want to buy a newer machine, they'll give you an extra $100 just for bringing in the old system and getting rid of it with them. Okay? So there's a little incentive if you need a little extra something to get rid of that old computer.
Nothing you can do to protect yourself?
To a limited extent you can. You can install and keep a good antivirus program up to date. We always recommend a program called ESET Not 32. But that's only one part of the equation. That only covers malware and things like that. Exploits that come out, bugs in the system that hackers and the bad guys are going to take advantage of. You are going to be at a high risk for those things. Because even if it's widely known and becomes widely published, Microsoft's not doing anything to help stop it. So
even if you have Norton security.
Even if you have great antivirus, I still don't think it's a great idea to be running it.
Do you get to delete all your old stuff? Like,
you can transfer it. Everything can be transferred to a new computer.
But do I have to take it off of there somehow, my XP?
Well, the most logical route is usually to just go ahead and ditch the old computer, move over all of your important data, and move on to a new operating system. A Windows 8 computer. Yeah.
What do you consider an old computer? Keep your hard drive. What's an old computer?
Old computer is any computer running Windows XP.
No, but I'm saying if your computer is very fast,
if it's very fast, I'm going to touch on upgrading in just a little bit, but I would say anything running, anything made since about 2007, 2008, I would say is a good candidate for being upgraded. Okay? Anything older than that, I wouldn't bother. It will cost you more time, hassle, and headache than it is worth just getting a new $400, $500 Windows 8 PC. Okay? All right. So Windows 8.1, what is this piece of software that we're talking about? It's Microsoft's latest operating system. It replaced the last version of Windows, which was Windows 7. It came out in October of 2012, so it's been out now for about a year and a half at this point. It's not, that fresh anymore. They've been working out the bugs, working out the kinks, and actually the reason it's called Windows 8.1 is because 0.1 was a big update Microsoft released about 4 or 5 months ago. That came out. So Windows 8 was the original, 8.1 is the updated copy, and there's another refresh update coming out in just about a month or so. So Microsoft's been really keeping up with making sure that all the changes are being put into place for this. There is no must start menu on this operating system, so if that scares you, wait till I get into live demonstration and I'm going to show everyone how easy it is to work with the start screen. I think it's fairly easy and it works pretty well, but yes, it is a very scary aspect to some people. I've been using Windows 8 since before it came out to the public, so I've been on it since about September 2012, August 2012, so I've been using it for quite some time. I use it as my day-to-day machine. I tend to like it. I like it better than any previous version of Windows I've used. I know I'm a geek, so my perspective's a little biased, but I think it works really well. It's very fast, very powerful, and super secure. So some of the biggest changes that they've made, I mentioned the start screen already to everyone. The start menu is completely gone. There is this new concept now, Windows Store apps versus desktop apps. So before, we've always known of applications, our Microsoft Office, our Quicken, our QuickBooks, All those programs that we installed off CDs for so many years or floppy disks, now there are two different concepts, and I'm going to go over what those two concepts are in just a little bit. You can do a split screen combination now in Windows 8.1. It's really neat because you can put Windows Store apps side by side with your regular desktop, so you can mix and match the things you're looking at any given time. We've always been used to moving windows next to each other on the traditional interface, but now we can have all these cool tile apps next to our regular desktop as well. And I'm going to show off how that works. It's super easy to use that functionality. And the other thing is the OneDrive, the cloud program I was talking about. I'm going to mention it in just a little bit. That is fully baked into the operating system, so you can use that free of charge. And I'm going to go over what that entails and what you can do with it. If you want to learn much more about it and get a deep perspective, come to our class next Saturday morning. We're going to be going over every aspect of what that entails. If you don't have Windows 8, the basics on how you can get it, you can purchase a new computer with it, obviously, or you can go ahead and upgrade your old machine for it. And I would not recommend upgrading unless you have some kind of consultant help you out, or you are technically savvy and very comfortable with hitting some bumps along the road. It's not always the simplest process, especially when you're moving from an old system like Windows XP. A lot of different choices out there. This is one of the great things I like about the options out there for Windows 8, unlike the Apple side of things where you only have a few different options for yourself. There's a lot out there now in the Windows 8 world. Convertible tablet, I use one of these day to day. I love my convertible tablet because I can write on it, so I'm going to show you how that works. There are hybrid desktop laptops, all-in-one desktops, where everything's built into the screen. We have touchscreen laptops. You can get a touchscreen monitor to use with your traditional computer that sits on the table or on the ground. And then, of course, things like the Surface tablet or the Nokia Lumia tablet, where it works as like a slate tablet without the keyboard, but you can connect a keyboard and work with it as a traditional laptop as well. So there's a lot of stuff out there that's on the market. What has changed? What's better in Windows 8.1? I've mentioned already it's very, very stable, very fast as well, faster than any other version of Windows that I have used in the past. My laptop, just in comparison, boots up in about 15 seconds, and I'm at a usable desktop. Very, very quick. Better performance than I've ever seen in the past. Goes without saying, it's also the most secure version of Windows. Microsoft's been battling the virus war for the last decade, and now they're finally ahead of the virus writers, in my opinion. There are a lot of changes that have been made in Windows 8 to make it very, very solid and bulletproof. I'm not saying you don't need antivirus, that's not by any means, but it is the safest experience you can probably get. Printer support is much better than it's been in the past. Very rarely will you have to put in your printer CD to install a printer. Everything is almost plug and play with the new version of Windows. I mentioned the Windows Store. Think of the Apple Store for Apple devices, but this is for the Windows devices, and I'm going to show off that in just a little bit. There's this neat option in the new Windows where you can do a refresh, and a refresh is, say something gets severely broken, like your internet browsing just doesn't work, and you don't want to go ahead and wipe everything away in your computer. You can do a refresh install that takes all the bits behind the scenes, puts them back in place, and keeps all your data intact. So it's like a reinstall without losing anything. If you use multiple monitors at your workplace or at the home, I personally use a second screen with my laptop at my home office, at my real office. I can't imagine working without a second screen these days. It has the best support for multiple screens. In terms of battery life, I think it's got a very, very good battery life. Compared to when I was running Windows 7 on this laptop, I'm getting about 10 to 15% battery life on it, so it's very, very power efficient. And other big thing that I really love, again, is that cloud support for the OneDrive. In essence, you never will lose files again if you use that functionality properly on your device. I'm going to touch on how you can leverage that in just a little bit.
I have a question.
Yes?
Do we need a backup drive with that cloud?
If you use OneDrive properly, you probably do not need a backup drive, no.
because I just bought one. I didn't install it.
It's fine. I mean, you can set it up and use it, but if you're going to get into the habit of using the OneDrive capability in Windows, I personally think you don't need a backup device at that point. That's my opinion.
I'll think about it.
It's pretty neat. If you come to our class next week, you'll be amazed at what you can do with it.
I'll be there.
Will my old software work? Will my old hardware work? Again, for the people that are thinking of upgrading, Microsoft tells us if your computer runs Windows 7, it will work with Windows 8. And if your software works with Windows 7, it will probably work with Windows 8 as well. So that upgrade battle we had a few years ago after XP and we had the Vista come out, there was a lot of problems with software not working. That nightmare is over for the most part. Upgrading is not as bad as it used to be because the big overhaul that Microsoft made behind the scenes was made in the mid-2000s, and now we're just making improvements. So that big, nasty change that came about is really not the case anymore. But I always tell people, if you're thinking about upgrading, always check the Compatibility Center. Microsoft publishes that for anyone to go ahead and view. You don't have to type in that long URL. Just go to Google and type in Microsoft Windows 8 Compatibility Center, and it will find the search result that will take you to that page. You can type in any printer, any scanner, anything you plug into your computer that you use. You can go there and search for it, and Microsoft will tell you yes or no whether or not it will work with Windows 8. So there's no reason to be bewildered or wonder why something doesn't work if you go ahead and make sure you check it before you do any kind of an upgrade, okay? And there have been people that I work with that have had to go out and purchase new devices, new printers, if they had a 10-year-old or 15-year-old printer. Yeah, there are things you might have to do an upgrade on. Nothing lasts forever in the world of tech, and you will have to make some sacrifices. But overall, I think it's worth it for the performance and security that you get from this new system, okay? So how do you know if you have Windows 8.1? As I said, Windows 8 was the original version that came out in 2012. There's this big update called 8.1 that's completely free, doesn't cost you a thing. And the simplest way to know if you have it is if you go into the desktop mode, and I'll show you how to get between desktop and start screen. If you see this big Windows Start button, as they call it. It's not the old Start button because you can't left click on it to bring up the big Start menu. But this little button over here will show if you have Windows 8.1. So you can take a look at it if you have your laptop with you and see if that's available. If that's not, I'm going to show on the next screen how it looks in terms of how to get that update for yourself. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail about it. This is more of a technical thing than our usability question, and you can talk to me after class personally if you want more info. But 8.1 is the latest stable version of this system. The version that you probably should upgrade to because, again, it doesn't cost you a thing. So it has all the improvements, all the speed enhancements, and all the little new features that they've introduced for the platform. Okay? And I'm going to show you in the next slide really quickly how it looks if you don't have it. If you don't have it, I'm going to show off how you get to the Windows Store on your computer, and you can go ahead and download this completely free. It takes about an hour to do. But it doesn't cost you a thing. All you have to do is hit the little download button for yourself. It'll tell you don't use the computer for about an hour. It'll install itself, and you should be good to go. Okay? And again, this is only if you purchase a new machine at the store and you notice that it's got the old version running on it. Okay? All right. That's it. No more boring slides. I'm going to get into live demonstration now. Does anyone have any questions about any of the basics that I just covered?
I'm just concerned about the 8.1 because I don't trust the store.
You don't trust what? You don't trust?
Store. I think I bought one model of the HP.
Well, this store that I'm talking about is actually from Microsoft directly. So you don't have to go to the store.
Yeah, I know. I did buy it from Best Buy.
Okay.
So I hope that they put 8.1 on it.
Even if they didn't, you can easily upgrade to 8.1.
But how can you tell if it's 8.1? I didn't understand.
Well, let me go back one last screen.
Because
I just showed.
If their picture is there, that icon?
Yes, this. What's called the Start.
Oh, I have that.
You have this little button right over here?
Yes.
That shows?
Yes.
Then you should have 8.1. Then you're fine.
And if it's not there,
If it's not there,
how do you get to that 8.1 download?
I'm going to show up how to get into the Windows Store once we get into the start screen.
Okay.
And once you get there, there's a big thing that will show up. If you don't have 8.1, it's going to hit you right in the face. It's going to say, upgrade to Windows 8.1. And then you click on it, and this is how it's going to look. And all you then hit download right over here in the upper left. 2 clicks. Windows Store, click on the 8.1 big button. It takes up the whole screen almost. And then you go just hit download right over here for yourself. Okay? 3 clicks, I lied. Super easy. All right, so let's get into demonstration here. Let's get into the fun stuff. So I'm going to go back into, and if you're curious, this whole presentation I made in the online version of PowerPoint. So that OneDrive I was talking about, I'm going to show people how to use that next Saturday. I made this whole thing in the PowerPoint Online web app. So you don't even have to use a paid version of Office anymore if you want to use Microsoft Office. Okay? So let's minimize that. So this is the desktop mode that everyone's used to, okay? So okay. This is the desktop mode. It looks a little bit different because I keep my taskbar on the left-hand side. You can easily go ahead and I can put it back where it's supposed to be, okay? So that's where everyone's used to seeing it. You can move it anywhere on the screen. This is what's called traditional desktop. This is what everyone knows and loves from the Windows of the last 15, 20 years, okay? But I'm going to start off teaching everyone about the start screen because that is the biggest shocker in this version of Windows. We're going to get back to desktop mode in just a little bit. So let me jump back into what's called the start screen here, okay? So this is the scary part that everyone that buys a new Windows 8 computer says, my gosh, how am I ever going to learn this? Okay? So let's dive into this. For the new Windows, really quickly, I'm going to touch on how you can go ahead and use input. When I say input, where you can use either touch or you can use a mouse and keyboard with this new version of Windows. Or you can use a stylus. And actually, my laptop has a stylus. It's connected to a little security chain so I don't lose my pen while I'm on the go. But so I use a stylus on here, and I'll show you how writing on here and using a stylus works. But you have 3 different options. Even if you have just a mouse and keyboard or a touchpad, you can use that. If you have and I'm actually doing mouse and keyboard as well while I'm presenting here. If you have just touch on your device, primarily like a Surface tablet, you can use that. My finger is doing this right now, okay? So I'm moving that around, and I can go up and down and go all over for myself. So you have a lot of different options here. If your laptop is a touchscreen unit or your computer is, it will be a lot easier. By all means, you don't have to have a touchscreen to use a Windows 8 device, but this interface lends itself to touch. I mean, it's very natural. It's like an iPad or any kind of those Android tablets where it's meant to be used with a finger style of input. But everything I show off with the mouse and keyboard, you can do with touch. So every single thing that a mouse can do, so can your finger, as long as you use the gesture properly. And I'm going to touch on how to do the 2 different things so I can cover both crowds, because I know not everyone will have a touchscreen device. First thing that you have to know, outside of, we'll get into the live tiles in just a moment here, but I want to let everyone know about what's called the charms bar. The charms bar is something that comes up if you move your finger and you swipe in from the right-hand side, or if you use your mouse and you go to the upper right or lower right corners. The charms bar is sort of your universal starting point now if you want to get somewhere else on your interface. Okay? So if you're stuck somewhere, if you're inside an app of some sort, and you don't know where you are, you want to get somewhere else, all you have to do is move your mouse cursor to the upper right or lower right corners, and it will bring up that charms bar for you. And the charms bar has a few different options on it. So this is like the new version, not necessarily, but it is like the new version of the start menu for us. So we have a few different things that we have access to. First off, we can search from anywhere we are in Windows at any given time. Search is very powerful in the new version of Windows. I'm going to show off in just a moment how powerful that search is. To be honest, I don't even hunt for icons anymore. Everything I find on my computer, I always search for. I mean, yes, I do peruse files and find files by file name still, but in terms of finding applications and turning on programs, I search for everything I need for the most part. It's super simple, very easy, and it's faster than it ever was before. The share button over here, you can use that. I don't use it that much, but if you use Facebook or LinkedIn or the social networks a lot, you can use the sharing button, and you can share content from any app or any interface by using that sharing button for yourself. So it's an easy way to dump stuff into Facebook, dump stuff into LinkedIn, no matter where you are on your computer. The start button that shows over here is that. It's just a button. It does not bring up a menu. All it does is take you between the different interfaces. As you see here, if I move my mouse cursor and hit that start button, it'll take me back and forth between the different interfaces. So because I was in this Wikipedia app and I was on the start screen before, it pulls me back and forth between those two. But if I was in the desktop interface, like this, and I hit the start button, it'll take me back to the start screen. So it's sort of your hop and go between button that you can use. And going between interfaces, the desktop mode and the new start screen interface, there are a lot of different ways you can do it. And I'll show you some of the ways I do it, but there are probably more ways as well. There's usually more than one way to do any given task in Windows 8. So that's the nice thing about it. The way I do it may not be the way that you want to do it or the way that you like to do it. Okay? So let's bring up that charms bar one more time. Okay? Devices is a quick way where you can go into and check on your printer, check on your external monitor, anything you have plugged into your computer. So that's your quick spot for getting into options and settings for your other devices that are plugged into your machine. If you connected your smartphone to your computer, you could hop in there and check on it or change settings. And this is another big one down here. This settings button that's on the lower right, you can use that. Kind of an overlay for us. But this settings button that's right down here, hit itself a little bit. But you can use that to get into the settings areas to change all the different things on how your computer works. Your power options, your sleep time, how bright your screen is, your passwords on your computer, the accounts you have logged in. All those different things that you may want to do are available from that settings button right over here. And I'm going to go into some of the things you can do in settings in just a little bit. So the biggest thing that we see here on the screen is the tile interface. So these are called live tiles. Live tiles are basically like shortcuts into what are called the Windows Store applications. So these are only tiles that allow us to get into things that run in this new interface, in the Windows Store style interface for us. And as you can see, everything's of a different size because you can customize the size of all these different live tiles for yourself. So as you can see here, I have an ESPN live tile that's wider, and Wikipedia, and I have a Flipboard app down there showing an article about food of some sort that's wider. So I can make them small, I can make them big. Not all of the live tiles have the same options for size. As you can see, my desktop tile is huge compared to all the other ones, but there are quite a bit of settings that you can play around with this interface. And again, it takes from that Apple iPad style of using the big icons to get into things, but it takes it one step further because not only can I customize the placement and the size, but I can customize to turn on things that show actually information, looping info and information at a glance as I'm using the interface. So I don't necessarily have to jump into an app to see some of those things going on. Like my news app is scrolling all the latest news stories. I can see those things at a glance for myself. So again, it's tiles on steroids, if you want to put it in a succinct way. As you can see, my weather app tells me right now it's 2 degrees in Park Ridge. I don't know if that sounds...
Can you stop the tiles from refreshing like that?
Yeah, that's called a live tile functionality, and there are usually settings in the app where you can turn that off for yourself. Yeah, so if you don't like that, if that's bombarding you with too much info, you can definitely change that in most apps. I don't know if all apps, but most of them allow you to turn that off for yourself. Okay? So how can I customize the things I have on my screen here? Very simple. You can go ahead and use your finger and hold down on a tile. And if you hold down, it'll bring you different options that you can use. And if I have a mouse and keyboard, all I have to do is right-click on a tile. So again, that's that duality. I can use touch, I can use a mouse and keyboard. So if I right-click on it, now I have all the different things I can do. Here we go. You're asking about how to turn it off? I can turn off that live tile functionality right there. Use that button, turn off live tile. I can resize tiles for myself. So I can use that. I can make it small, or I can make it big again. So whatever kind of options I want to use. I can go ahead and uninstall any of these applications for myself really quickly by using the uninstall button. So as opposed to traditional applications on our computer that we're being used to, where you have to go into control panel and add remove programs and all those extra steps, it's as simple as one click. Select it, uninstall it. So that's part of the beauty of the new live tile interface, is that you can put these apps on really easily, and I'll go into that in just a moment. That's really neat. The Windows Store, and we can take those apps off just as quickly. So you don't have to worry about, are my files missing, or is the app not working properly? Microsoft made it really easy for us to put these on and take these off. If you don't want to see that application, if you don't want to remove it, but you don't want to see it on your live tile start screen, you can also unpin it. So if I don't want Wikipedia, I can right-click on it, and I can do unpin from start, and there we go. It's completely gone. But it's still accessible if I go ahead and search for it. So it's still installed on my computer, I just don't see it on my initial interface here for myself. Okay? So again, this goes back to these apps over here. These are all called Windows Store apps. And this is one thing you have to know about, because if you're talking with someone and you tell them, I installed, for example, Quicken, that's considered a traditional Microsoft desktop application, but all these apps over here on this screen, these are considered Windows Store live tile applications. So there are two different things now that you have to remember when using a Windows 8 machine, because they could mean two different things. There is a version of Internet Explorer that's just for the start screen, and there's one on the desktop. So there's two versions of that. There is a version, I believe, of Google Chrome for the desktop and the start screen. So there are multiple versions of the same app that could be in both different sides of the platform. So that's one thing to know about. If you go into a program or one of these live tiles for yourself, so for example, if I go into Fresh Paint, just so you know, Fresh Paint is a free drawing program that you can use. I like using this. You can use this and just do quick little drawings for yourself. Up on the screen, I got my stylus here, so this is like an iPad, but I can draw on here and do all kinds of different things for myself. So if I wanted to go into Fresh Paint and I wanted to go ahead and close out of it, a lot of people ask, well, where is my big red X? I don't see my red X anywhere on the screen. How do I get out of this program or this Windows Store app? Very simple. You can use your finger and do a swipe down from the top of the screen. Let me see if I can get it to work. My touch screen's a little finicky with finger input. There we go. If I use my stylus. So you can do, if you're doing a touch style, you can do a swipe down from the top of the screen and toss it away. Or you can do the same thing with your mouse and keyboard. So let me go back into Fresh Paint here. If I wanted to close my mouse and keyboard, look at the little, see how the hand shows up on the top of the screen? That means the hand's ready to grab. And once you do a left click with it, it will hold on to it. And now you can toss it down. Here we go. Hold, toss it away. That's all it is. It's a throwaway action. It's a gesture. So all we're doing is replicating what we did with our finger, but now with the mouse and keyboard, and just tossing that application away for ourselves. So it's as simple as it is. That's all you have to do if you want to close out of any of these Windows Store apps on the start screen for yourself. You don't have to close out of an app if you open it. There is also the option to just leave it running. So if I go into Fresh Paint and I just want to leave it open, I can simply go ahead and toggle between the different interfaces for myself by either going to my Charms bar and going back and hitting the Start button, or what I like to do is just use my Windows key on my keyboard in the bottom left corner, hit that, and I can get back to the other interface. So I went into Fresh Paint, I just went back now into my Start screen, and I can hit my desktop tile to get back into my work mode, my desktop mode. So I can use it like I know and used it in the past.
I've tried that a few times, but then when it goes to another program, the old window keeps on opening up. It shows up every time.
When what? When you do what? When you try to get back to this
Going
interface?
from one, not Fresh New Paint, but I was in some other application, and when I closed it, or didn't close it, then the next time I use the computer, this thing keeps on popping up.
No, I'm not saying it may not be a bug. It could be a bug in that application itself that's doing that. It should not force itself upon you when you bring the computer up. It should be either bringing you to the start screen, or you should be seeing the desktop interface, but you should not be seeing an app come up on you like that. So there might be something going on with the machine. But in order to check and see if that application is actually running, to actually shut it off manually, you can very simply, and I was going to get to this in a little bit, but if you go on the upper left-hand corner of your screen with your mouse or your finger, and you scroll down then, you'll see everything that's running at any given time on your computer.
Okay.
Desktop interface or any Windows Store apps.
Still open.
If it shows up here on this list over here, it means it's open.
Okay, then how can I close it from over there?
Once you bring up this list for yourself, you can go ahead and hold it down with your finger, or you can right-click on it and do close.
Okay.
So I'm closing out of Fresh Paint Wikipedia. All I have now is just my desktop and start screen interface.
Okay.
So that's the simple way that you can see which apps are running for yourself. So I'll do that one more time. I'm going to open up, this time, ESPN. Okay. Go back to my start screen. I'm going to open up my Maps application. Okay. And now I'm asking myself, okay, what are all the apps that I have open? Take my finger, upper left-hand corner. I believe you can also do, no, it has to be upper left. So upper left, scroll down, and you'll see what is running right over there for yourself. Now my Maps application is not showing up because I'm in it right now. So it's not going to show up on the left-hand side. If I want to close that, I got to use my swipe down, throw it away function. Okay?
Yeah. That
Yes.
makes sense.
When you had the little hand on there
Yes.
and brought it down, did you say you had to right click or left
Left click. So once I see the hand, I hold down with my left click,
Hold down your
and
left
then
click.
just move your mouse all the way down as if you're throwing away with your hand.
So once you see the hand, hold the left click.
Hold the left click, yes.
Alright.
Okay?
Thank you.
So that's how we can go into multiple different apps at a single time, and then we can go ahead and close them out for ourselves. You may also be asking, well, I want to use 2 different apps at a single time for myself. So I was going to get to this a little bit later, but I guess I'll bring it up now. It's a good junction point for us. So let me go into, for example, let's go back into our mapping program. Let's go back to our start screen here. I'm going to open up my Flipboard app, which is this is a great app actually. I'll mention this because I really like this app. This is like a digital magazine that you can use. I think this is an iPad and all the other devices, but this works truly like a digital magazine, and you can go ahead and simply flip pages for yourself within this. So I can go in here, and I can just go ahead and turn the page. It works best with finger. So I'm using my finger, and I'm taking it just like a magazine, and I flip through the magazine. I'm flipping through all my news stories now. Come on. That might be the end of that page. But it's a really neat app that you can use here. So I really highly recommend it. If you're one of those people who likes picking up the newspaper and seeing all the different things on a given day, Flipboard's a really neat app that you can use. So let me go back here. Let's see.
Is it full articles or is it?
Yeah, it pulls from all over the web. It's full articles. Yeah, but it's illustrated in a style like a magazine. So they take the pictures and they formulate them, and they put them, insert them in a way that makes it look like Time Magazine or Chicago Tribune. So it's pretty nice. I like it.
Is it articles from Time Magazine or?
All kinds of news sources. They pull it from all kinds of sources on the web.
And it's free.
Totally free.
It's called Flip what?
Called Flipboard. It's rated very highly in the Windows Store. It'll be hard to miss if you do a search for it. All one word, Flipboard. Okay? So let's see what I have open here. I've got my Maps open. I've got my Flipboard open. I want to use both at the same time. Maybe not the most practical situation. Most of the time I see people doing things like opening stock quotes on one screen or have their email open on another screen, but just hypothetical purposes. If you ever wanted to do something like this to open up multiple apps. So let me go back into Flipboard here. Come on. A little bit refresh issue. Let's go back in the Flipboard. Okay, and there we go. Looks like a very tasty meal we can make. So I'm going to go with my finger or my mouse, upper left-hand corner, and I'm going to take my Maps application now. I'm going to hold on it with my left click button or my finger, either way, and I can drag it into my screen here. Now look at this. Both up at once.
Okay, say that there wasn't home-cooked meals. Say that was a restaurant and they gave an address and you wanted to go on your map and find out how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they listed the address. And
Sure.
How would you do that?
To find that address for myself?
Yeah, well, yeah. Say they gave the address as this address for the restaurant, and you wanted to know how to get there. So
Well,
you had the address. Up
usually
on
when
the-
you're in an app, when you're in any kind of Windows Store app, your options menu or how to get into those other settings that we're talking about, so typing in some sort of search.
You wanted to copy the address
Yeah,
from one.
so that's a right click. It's either a hold down with your finger or it's a right click. So I'm doing a right click right now, and look at all the options I was brought up on the left-hand side. Do you see that?
Right.
I'm
then
gonna-
where would it come up saying to type in?
Well,
the
I have to
address?
I have to bring that option up actually. So that's why I'm showing the special options here. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go into do a search now. Let's do a search. I want to find out how to get here to Park Ridge Library. How does that sound?
Okay, yeah.
So we'll do a search for it, or whatever address that you had in particular,
Yeah.
and I can go ahead and map that out for myself. I can get directions now, so I could say, hey, we're at the Lincolnwood Library, and we're going over to Park Ridge Library. And there we go. Maps it out for me and tells me the exact route. And this is just the built-in mapping capability that we have. How's
makes
that?
sense,
And
yeah.
that's just one example. I mean, you could do this with any application from the Windows Store.
Yeah.
I can bring up stock codes. I can bring up my game scores. I can bring up my email on one side. Anything that you can imagine, you can bring those things up for yourself.
Can you cut and paste from the right side into the left side?
Let's see. I have not personally tried that. Let's go back over here. Let's go into a story and let's see if we can copy and paste from here. Yeah, it depends on the app. Some apps you may be able to, some you may not be able to. This is like a magazine. I don't think they really intended it to be copy and pasted out, but some other apps may allow you to select the text, or especially if you're in desktop mode. So if you do this, here's another scenario that I use sometimes. So let me close out a Flipboard and let me go into my desktop interface here, and I could bring up, for example, my email on the right-hand side. I know I can copy and paste out of here. I'll cut that out, and let's see if I can paste it here. There we go. I just copied and pasted to google.com. Could be an address. Could be someone's home. Could be another place of interest that I'm looking for. So this is a very practical way to use the split screen. Have some kind of Windows Store app on the left-hand side and have up your regular desktop interface on the right-hand side. If you don't like the sizing, if you don't like doing half and half, take your finger or your mouse, hold down your left click, make it a little smaller. Maybe the map's taking up too much room, or maybe desktop is too big. Maybe you just want desktop to take up a third of the screen and you want your map to be a little bit larger. Change your sizes. You can change it right on the fly for yourself. It's fully customizable, so you can make it as big or as small as you want. So pretty neat. And again, some programs haven't been updated yet to include the functionality where they can be resized to such small increments. This particular application has been changed over. Some of them might be look a little goofy because they haven't been fully updated, but most of the apps are starting to make the changes so you can resize them on the fly like this for as large or small as you want. And if you just want to completely take away, for example, the thing on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, you can take that resizing slider and just close out entirely to make it entirely just your map screen once again.
But the desktop is still in memory.
The desktop is still running. It hasn't been closed. It's just been taken out of view for the time being. Okay? So that's how simple it is to go back and forth between them. If I wanted to bring my desktop back, take my mouse or finger, upper left-hand corner, and take my desktop, left-click on it, and drag it in.
Now it's on the left-hand side, and my mapping application's on the right-hand side. And I can resize it, as I said, once more. If you have multiple screens, this is another nice thing about Windows 8.1. If you have 2 or 3 screens, you can do multiple different split screens on your different monitors. So I could have, if I had 2 big screens, my laptop and a second monitor, I could have 4 different things open at once. I mean, you could get a little crazy after a certain point, but again, there's some of the possibilities that are out there. My screen's not big enough, so I can only do 2 at a single time, but if you have a really big screen, like 24, 25 inches, you might be able to get 3 different apps on the screen at once for yourself. So that's where this becomes really neat, because you could be watching a movie while typing email, while looking at the weather in the middle of the screen. So pretty neat kind of things that you could do with this. Does anyone want me to show you the functionality of the split screen one more time?
Yeah.
Once more?
The very beginning, was it just...
It's tough because you can start this from anywhere you're on the computer. It's not like there's one starting point to do it. So let me start off, let me do it from the desktop interface, okay? This is how a lot of people are working during the day, so well, I'm gonna leave maps open here. Let me toss that away for now. So now we're on desktop interface right now, right? This is the traditional interface. This is where we'd be typing our letter or working on our spreadsheet or any of that other boring stuff that we do day to day. So we'd be on this interface. I wanted to open up something like Netflix or another app. If you remember, you have to open up that application first. So you can't just go in and find it on the upper left-hand corner if it hasn't been opened yet. So you have to go in and find it first for yourself. So let me see, I think I have Netflix on here. Maybe I don't have Netflix. I think maybe I'll install it for myself. Say I wanted to open up my Amazon app. Let's open up Amazon. Okay, so I had to do some shopping. We'll open up Amazon. I'm going to go back to my desktop interface. So this is also a way that you can go between the programs, as I said earlier. If I wanted to go back to my desktop or another app, find it on my quick pick list, and just click on it. So now I'm back in my desktop interface. But I want to open up and have that Amazon app running, as an example, okay? Take my mouse or finger, upper left-hand corner, bring up that little quick pick menu, scroll down just a little bit, and now it'll show me everything else that's running behind the scenes. As you can see, I have Maps open, and I have Amazon open. I want to bring Amazon down and split the screen with Amazon now. So I'm going to take my mouse or my finger, hold down on Amazon. If it's a mouse, the left click, hold, and simply drag it onto the screen. And move it on the part of the screen that you want it. Left or right, wherever you want it. And then let go. Once you let go, it's going to go ahead and open up that app on that part of the screen for you. Okay? And this is now where I can go ahead and do my resizing. I only want this to be nice and small. I can make the other side bigger. See this? So desktop can't go any smaller than this. If you notice that you move your slider too far to the right and it has no other sizing options, it'll just toss it away, which means that that's as small as it can get. So it'll give you some guidance in terms of how small you can make one side of the screen. But Windows Store apps are a little bit more forgiving in that regard.
So let's just say it was like the restaurant and the directions before.
Sure.
So now from this screen, let's say you had the directions up there.
Sure.
To get the second screen up, you go back to your desktop and pull up the second one and open it, and then it'll split it.
Yes, you have to open up that application first, and then you'll have the option to bring it in for a split screen for yourself.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yes, thank you.
But if something on the desktop interface, like you're bringing up a web browser and just using it here, you work with it just like you've always worked with it in the past. There's nothing different about this interface in terms of bringing up a web browser or a Word document or Excel spreadsheet. The difference just comes into play with these style apps, the Windows Store apps. Because again, they have to be opened first, then you can bring them into the split screen view for yourself. I don't want Amazon anymore. Bring my mouse up to the top, hold down, swipe down, throw it away, take my split screen off. And again, if you didn't follow along, if that was too quick for you, rewatch the video. This is going to be shared out with everyone. You can rewatch this by all means and try it on your own computer. And that might even be better for some people. If you don't have your computer, watch my video on one screen, and then on the other side, you can work with Windows Store apps. So again, see, we're bringing those concepts into real life now. So that's the.
You're gonna have a lot of hits later on.
So let's keep moving here. Let's get into the Windows Store. Okay, so I showed you the interface. I showed you some of the basics of what we can do here. I want to show you now how you can get new apps for yourself, because this is the cool part. People want to see what kind of apps are out there, what they can get for themselves. I've got some of the basics up on here, but there's all kinds of neat stuff available. Windows Store looks like this. It's a green icon. It's got a shopping bag with a Windows logo on it, and it says Store. If you can't find it, you can do a search for it. I didn't mention how you can do a search, but when you're on the start screen in this new version of Windows, all you have to do is search. You don't even have to bring up the Charms bar with that search button over here. You can do that, but the way I do it is just by start typing. So if I want to find Windows Store, I can just start typing Windows Store. And it should find it for me. So it should have brought up the app right there. In general, the search does work very, very well. Windows Store, if you type in a name of an application or a name of another program that you're trying to find, it should find it for you right on the right-hand side. I have the tile right over here for Windows Store. So all I'm going to do is click on it, go into it. And if you've been on the Apple App Store, this is very similar. It's just Microsoft's version. There are not as many apps on the Windows Store yet. I think they just hit 150,000, but 150,000 is still a lot of apps. Okay, I think it's more than enough for you to do some perusing on a few weekends and still have more than enough to go through.
Is that where I would find that 8.1?
That is where you would find 8.1. So as soon as you went into Windows Store, you would see a big tile that showed up that said upgrade to Windows 8.1.
Okay.
It's the first thing you're going to see.
Okay.
It's not going to show on mine because I already have it.
Yeah.
But if you go into it, it'll show up right on that first screen for you. So let me go into Windows Store here. Come on. Internet, play nice with us today.
But if it doesn't show up, that means it's already been upgraded?
If it doesn't show up, if you see something like this, then yes, you already have been upgraded.
Okay.
But remember, the biggest thing to check for, the simplest thing, is to be on the desktop interface and look for right there. Can't make it any bigger.
Okay.
The Windows button. If you see that on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you have the update already. You don't need to go out and find it. Okay?
How'd you make that bigger?
I have a special little tool on here that's called Zoom It. It's a free app that you can find on Google. Search for Zoom It, okay? From Microsoft. So let's go back into our Windows Store. I'm going to use our quick pick list. Go back into Store over here. And it just works like any other store. Of course, you can do a browsing and you can peruse things right off the bat for yourself really quickly. I'm going to use my finger here and just scroll left and right. The things on the first page are going to be the most popular things, Facebook, ABC News, all the top apps, the things that people are downloading most, the most popular items. But you can search for anything that you want in the store. So if I wanted to search for something, I can go ahead in the upper right-hand corner and start typing in a search. What's some kind of app that you guys, someone might want to download on their computer? What kind of app would you be interested in?
The game?
Anyone?
Game.
A game? Okay. All right, so let's type in
Poker.
Type in games. Oh, we can type in poker. That sounds good. I just typed in games and it found just 1,000 apps for me right off the bat. Let's get a little more specific. Let's type in poker. 238 poker apps that I can play around with, okay? There's a lot of options on here. Even though it's not as big as Apple Store, it's getting bigger every single day. And here's the other great thing. A lot of great apps are completely free. There are paid apps, of course, just like on the Apple side, but I think there are a great selection of totally free items. And when you do a search for anything, like we just typed the search in for poker, as you can see here, it brings up the most relevant items. So what relevance means is the search term is relevant to the application that you were looking for, and also the number of people that have reviewed it, the quality of the app. So the apps go by quality in terms of how many reviews they have and what kind of star rating people gave them. So as you can see, Poker Fever might be a pretty good bet. And why do I say that? We had 719 people review it, and it's got an average rating of 3.5 stars.
that's pretty good. You can probably have a good bet that this is an application that was built pretty well, people like it, it's got good functionality. And again, just like you go on Amazon and you look at ratings on Amazon, you go on here and you look at ratings on the App Store, on the Windows Store. So you can see what it is that you're downloading and what other people think before you get into it. Here's another good one, completely free, Mega Poker Texas Hold'em, 490 people have reviewed it, and it's got a 4-star average. That's pretty good. Means it's probably a darn good app. So that's sort of the way that I would filter through the results that I'm seeing on Windows Store, and not just get anything on the store, without taking a look at it. You have to investigate a little bit, because just like anything else, you go to the grocery store and you investigate things before you buy them. You need to take a look and do your due diligence before you install things on here. Not to say that it's not easy to take it off. Of course, it's got a one-click uninstall, but still, before you invest any time into using it, you might want to get some insight from other people that have played around with it. So say, for example, yes, I saw this Poker Fever game over here. I think it's got a pretty good rating, and I want to go ahead and install it. So I can click on it with my finger, or tap on it with the left mouse button for myself. And very simply, if I want to install it, all I have to do is click on Install up here. Every single app tells you a description as well, so it tells you what the app does. It tells you who made it. It tells you the year that it was released. The last time it was updated should be on here as well. And of course, we have our star rating. And if you wanted to find more information about it, we should be able to scroll to the right-hand side and see what some people had to say. So maybe we can see that some people said, received this app for free. I love poker, and I'm glad I found it. That sounds pretty interesting. Very entertaining, keeps your mind occupied. I really enjoy the game. So it looks like a lot of people have some good consensus about this. I think it's probably a pretty good app. I want to go ahead and install it. What do? Hit the little install button on the upper left-hand corner. You'll see how the little green dots will go ahead and start scrolling there. And if I click on this on the upper right-hand corner, it'll tell me what's installing right now. I think it just finished, or it's still going. Here we go. Bigger games, bigger items will take longer to install, just like any other program. Internet's chugging a little bit on us right now, so it's taking a little bit longer. But once this finishes, it'll show up right on our start screen for us on our application list, and we'll be able to use it right away. So as soon as this finishes, there we go. There was the noise. It told me Poker Fever's installed, and I can just go into it just by clicking on this. And it'll take me right into the game, or whatever app it is. Okay, now do know that a lot of free apps have advertising on it, so you may see banner ads within the program. But again, that's the trade-off for getting free applications these days. But I can go into it, start playing a new game for myself. I don't know poker very well, so I'm not going to make a fool of myself here. So I'm going to close out of it. But again, so very simple. I found the app I wanted, I checked the ratings on it, I installed it, and now I can start using it. And that was all within a matter of what, 2 minutes? So very simple and easy. You don't have to have much computer knowledge to be able to use these Windows Store style apps for yourself.
How do you get rid of it?
How to get rid of it? As to remove it completely from the computer? Okay, let's close out of it. So let's do our swipe, toss it away. And I'm going to go ahead and now find it on my start screen interface. So if it doesn't show up on my customized live tiles up on the top portion, I can go find it on the bottom area, and I can use the little button down here. See the little mouse on the bottom left-hand corner? Has an arrow that points down. That's pointing you to the rest of your items that are installed, all the items that don't show up on the top area over here. So I can use that, go down here, and now this is a full list of everything on my computer. And by default, your Windows Store apps show up on the left-hand side. The right-hand side are shortcuts to all of your traditional apps. So all of these are the ones that are most important for start screen. And mine end right about here. So that's my entire list. So all I got to do is alphabetically, I can do a search for it if I wanted to. So again, I can search for it, or I can hunt and peck for it. I'm showing everyone now how to do the hunt and peck. So that was called what? That was called Poker, here we go, Poker Fever. I found it, I right click on it, or hold down with your mouse or with your finger. Hold down with the mouse with your finger, and it'll bring up the same menu for you. Now I can just hit uninstall, and it'll ask me if I want to also uninstall it from all my synced computers.
Sync computers, that is a OneDrive functionality where you can actually have multiple computers in your house, or say a computer at your family member's home, and if you sign into it, it'll install all of your Windows Store apps onto it. So you'll have the same experience at home as you do at your family member's house as you do at your workplace. Okay, so that's why it's asking us that. So I'm going to go ahead and uninstall it from all the PCs I have synced. I'm going to uninstall it, and that's it. It's gone. There's nothing else involved. Completely wiped away. Okay? So let's go back in the store here. I like to do an example of news. Say you wanted to find some kind of news application. Do a search for news, and of course all the top ones are going to come up on the first part of the screen here, the most popular, the most installed by people. Look at Flipboard, there it is. One of the most popular apps over there. 4,500 people have reviewed it with a 4-star average rating. That's that program I showed that looks like a magazine. And all the other apps are on here as well. New York Times, CNN. If I wanted to install it for myself, I can go in, see what the reviews are, and just do an installation. And there's a lot of choices on here. As I said, I mean, most of the big apps that are on the Apple Store are already available on the Windows Store side. There are very few things that haven't made it over yet. So I did a search for news, and I got 1,000 results alone for this. So I probably have to do something more specific if I was interested in it. But as you can see, plenty of options, and most of these are completely free. I mean, there are not that many for a lot of the top categories that you have to pay for. So there's a lot of great free options available these days.
Are those filters in the top left?
Yes, those are filters. So say I did a search for this. I wanted to sort by the items that had the highest rating and things that were only free. I could use the search filters up there, and it will only bring up those particular items. And even still, there's 1,000 items. So there's probably more than 1,000 in the store that you could find for yourself. It just limits us to 1,000 search results at any given time. So a lot of different things available, and across all the different things. News, sports, I mean, anything that you can imagine, thing that you'd be looking for, there's probably an app out there for it. NFL's got an app, ESPN, NASCAR's got an app, MLB, NBA, all the different major items over here, Sports Illustrated. So whatever, anything that you have an interest in, go in the Windows Store, do a search for it, and see what's available. I mean, you really have to give it a try. I'm not showing you everything that's out there. You have to go out and find things that you're interested in. That's the big point about this, this Start Screen interface. You customize it to what you want to use, not what Microsoft wants you to use, or what your friends like to use, or what your other family members like to use. You customize it for your own needs. Okay? Anything else in the Windows Store that someone wants me to show off? Is there something that I may have missed that you may be interested in? We showed off searching, installing, checking reviews, anything else?
How do you put it on the start screen?
Oh, I should have showed you how to do that. Look at that. Okay, so let me go up into my pick list. I'm going to go back into my Start Screen interface. So say, for example, let me find something that's not in my Start Screen, my customized Start Screen up here, okay? And I wanted to make an icon for it up there. I can go down to my entire list of icons shown over here, and all I have to do is right-click on it. And I'll get an option then to make a Start Screen shortcut for myself. So this food and drink, I don't believe I have on my Start Screen. And as you'll see, on the lower left-hand side, I have an option that says Pin to Start. That's all I have to do to pin that item to the Start Screen for myself.
And if you, after 2 months, you want to take it off your screen, but you don't want to get rid of it, how do you?
Then we would go ahead, then we would use the option that I showed earlier, which is the right click, and which is the unpin from start. Bottom left-hand corner. So unpin takes it off, pinning it takes it on. Very simple, simple as that. Pin it or unpin it. Okay? So if I wanted to take off my little music application here, Metro Radio, I'd right click on it, unpin it from start, and there it goes. It's completely gone.
And then it just goes into your...
It still stays installed, I just don't see it on my, my home Start Screen for myself. But if I want to find it, I could search for it just by starting to type for it.
Yeah.
Metro Radio, or I can just find the actual button for it down here, and it's right there.
Okay.
So it doesn't go away until I uninstall that particular app for myself. Okay? I didn't show off how you can move tiles around. If you want to move these around for yourself, hold down with your finger or use your left mouse hold on your mouse and just drag it. Move it around wherever you want it. So maybe I want that there. My news, I want all the way on the right-hand side. Cut the rope game, I can move over here. I can customize this to my heart's content. Everything's customizable. I can move it wherever I want just with a drag and drop for myself. Pretty simple. So everything you see on the screen can be customized. There's nothing on here that you can't change. If you don't want any icons on here, you can right-click on them all and just unpin all of them from start. And you can have a completely blank start screen for yourself. Or you can put all of them on there. It's to your heart's content. Personalize it the way that you want to use it.
Categories?
What was that?
You can make categories?
In terms of what? In terms of like folders on the start screen for yourself?
You can group them. Put all of the...
You can group them however you drag and drop them. If I want all my sports apps over here for myself, and all I have to do is just move them around the way that I want them. So drag and drop them where you want them to be for yourself, okay? I showed off the search functionality in Windows 8 already. Again, you can do that in one of two ways. I do it just by starting to type anything I'm looking for right on the start screen for myself. Or if you're someone that likes to initialize that via formality, you can just use your mouse or your finger, bring up your charms bar, and hit the search button on the right-hand side. So those are two ways that you can do a search anywhere you are. I think just starting to type is the easiest way because, like I said, I go from my desktop interface, I'm looking for a program that I have installed, and I just start typing it, Microsoft Publisher, and it finds it for me, and I can just launch that program right from there for myself. Very quick and easy. So I tell people, don't clutter your desktop with a lot of icons. I know I have a few on the right-hand side over here, but compared to what I've seen on some people's screens where the whole desktop is filled with shortcuts, I say there's no need for that anymore. No reason to have all those shortcuts. You can find anything you want very simply right off your start screen by doing a search. And that's not only for applications. You can search for things on the web. You can search for files on your computer. So I know I have a PDF on my desktop called Windows something. Start typing in Windows, and I should be able to find that document I had on my desktop. Where is that item? Maybe I mistyped it wrong. I think maybe it's called Microsoft. But again, you can search for documents, anything that you may be looking for on your computer. So it really is an everywhere search on your machine. It's very quick compared to how the older versions of Windows, you had to wait till the thing searched your whole computer. It's doing that indexing behind the scenes now. So anything on your machine can be found in a relatively quick manner right from the search bar for yourself. Okay, once I'm done searching, all I did was left click out of the search bar in the white blank space here, and now I'm back in my start screen interface.
About the background?
The background can be adjusted. Yep, I know I got goofy robots scrolling around over here, so it's a little funky, but I can adjust that for myself. And then I can adjust by going into my charms bar and going into the settings area. And there's an option for over here called personalize. If I go into personalize, I can change my background colors, I can change my styles. Oh, another funky one. All kinds of different things. So if you like a lot of colors, you can definitely find something that fits you. I think that's the basic one, but...
Where was the personal button?
Oh, let me show it one more time.
Sorry, I was looking at it.
Yeah, I know, I flipped through it so fast. So go into your charms bar, so mouse finger on the right hand, swipe in from the right, or use your mouse and move up to the upper right or lower right corners. Okay? And it'll bring up the charms bar. Click on settings.
Right.
And then click on personalize.
I don't have personalized.
Let me see. You might not have Windows 8.1.
Oh,
So this
sure.
is an 8.1.
Yeah.
This is an 8.1
Yeah.
functionality. So you'll have to update, watch my video again, and you can do it as you're watching, following along.
Derrick, but you can make background from the pictures. If I have some pictures, I want to put them on as a background.
I believe you can. I believe you can on here. I don't remember where the exact place was to go ahead and put that picture in there, but I believe you can do it. If you send me an email after class, I will be able to find that for you and give it to you. But these are just some of the quick things that you can pick from and choose from right off the the start for yourself.
So we don't need to use the desktop anymore. That's obsolete pretty much, right?
I wouldn't say the desktop's obsolete. I mean, all traditional programs that you have, you still have to access from the traditional desktop, but there is a lot of things you can do right off the start screen now. Here's what I tell people. You get your work done on the desktop, you use the start screen for your personal items, browsing, games, looking at the news, looking at the weather, checking the mapping application, those quick items. You know, the kind of thing that you would pick up your iPad tablet for is the kind of thing you would use your start screen for. It's going to be becoming more and more relevant as Microsoft starts moving more items into the start screen, but for now there is the duality because, yes, not everything has been moved over to the start screen yet. So we do have the two interfaces still to use. Okay? So that's what I say. Personal items on the start screen, getting your work done on the desktop interface. I can change my colors for myself on the fly here, so customize it. Let's make it something a little easier to see here. There we go. Okay. So there's that. And if you're looking to turn off your computer using the start screen, all you have to do is open up your charms bar, click on the settings button, and go ahead and click on the little power button over here, and you'll be able to restart, put your computer to sleep, or shut it down completely. Okay? And there's a different way to access that same menu from the desktop interface. I'll show that off once we get over to the traditional desktop. But again, there are multiple different ways to do anything on this new version of Windows. So if you don't like using it that way, maybe you'll like the other fun way that I show in just a little bit.
I take it sleep means pause?
What was that?
Sleep means pause?
Sleep is sort of a mode that uses very low power, puts it to sort of a sleep. So you don't have to shut the computer off completely. You can leave things open for yourself, but you can put it, and when you put it to sleep, when you bring it back up, everything will still be open for you. You can start working where you were last.
You're going to step away for 2 hours or so.
Yeah.
And go back to it.
Oh.
Yeah. You're turning it off overnight. A lot of people just like to shut it down completely. And of course, a restart is what it sounds like. Turning the computer off and doing a restart of it to bring it back up fresh. Maybe something's acting funky, or you call someone and they're trying to help you solve something and it's just not working the right way. They'd probably tell you, hey, do a restart of your computer to bring it back up fresh and clear away any bugs in the background. Okay?
Okay, and when you want to send mail, I guess you just click.
Well, if you want to send mail, there's a mail application over here. I'm not going to bring it up because it has my personal email loaded up on there. But if you go into it, you can load in any of your personal or work email accounts. And it works just like if you've ever used the Outlook program, it's a light version of Microsoft Outlook. So you can scroll all your mail, search your mail, send new messages. You can pull multiple email accounts into there as well. So you can make that your go-to email system if you really want to.
When you're done, is it best to put it in sleep mode or shut down the computer?
It depends on the time span that you're going to have the machine shut off. I usually, most of the time, just put my machine to sleep.
Okay.
Sleep is so fast and bringing back up, closing it down and bringing it back up, and it's relatively bug-free now. So I just put my thing to sleep. I maybe do a shutdown once every 2-3 weeks.
Okay.
So sleep mode is usually the best way to do it.
If I use a computer every day, it's just put it to sleep.
Put it to sleep. Maybe give it a restart on the weekend just to close out of any nasties running behind the scenes or bugs or issues that came up for you. Okay?
And the envelope is for sending mail too, right?
Yeah, mail is for everything. Receiving mail, sending mail. Your all-inclusive mail application. Completely free. That comes pre-installed when you get a new Windows 8 computer. So that's on there. You don't even have to search for that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to move off of the start screen here. We're at about 11:25. We've got about 35 minutes left. I think we can get all of our content knocked out. So let's keep breezing through here. If you have any further questions about the start screen, save them till the end, and I will go ahead and I will address it when we get to Q&A for ourselves. Okay? So this concept of I'm going to go into part 3 now. Concept of OneDrive. What is this OneDrive? What is this cloud that we're talking about with Windows 8.1? If you have a free Microsoft account, and if you sign into your computer with a Microsoft account, and you'll probably be prompted to do so when you get your new Windows 8 machine, especially if it has Windows 8.1 preloaded, a Microsoft account is basically like a Google account. It's a free account that you sign up for. You can use your existing email address, and it ties you into the Microsoft ecosystem. And what that does is it's two things. It allows you to save your files on your computer and synchronize them to the cloud. And it also allows you to sign into your computer with your password. Okay, so it serves a security purpose. It also serves a functionality purpose. So if I wanted to tie my computer into a Microsoft account, and again, if you sign into your computer with an email address already, you probably already have a Microsoft account set up on your computer. How can I check for that? Very simply, go into my charms bar, go into my settings area, and if I go into change PC settings, I'll be giving an option here that says accounts on the left-hand side. Now there are all kinds of other options here that show. I'm not going to go into all of them. You can play around with some of these and check them out. But if I go into accounts, it'll show me here that my email address is already connected to this machine. So I'm already signed in with a Microsoft account. If you are not signed in with a Microsoft account, I believe it will go ahead and say, connect your Microsoft account to this computer. When you do that and you sign in or you make a new account for yourself, you'll then be allowed to sign into your computer with your email address. And then you'll be given the capability of using this OneDrive functionality that's on the machine, that's built into Windows 8.1. And what are some of the things that this OneDrive does for us? One of the nicest things that it provides us is that it allows you to synchronize your settings across multiple computers. So remember how I told you that if you install an app on this computer and you sign into your Microsoft account on another computer at work, if you install and you set it up so that it synchronizes those settings, you could have it so all of your apps on your home computer show up on your work computer as well. So it's not like you have to maintain 3, 4 different computers. You maintain one computer or touch any of the computers that are connected, all of them see those settings get changed as well, and they replicate across all those systems. So the nice part is it also remembers all the applications you installed. So I install ABC News and CNN, ESPN and Wikipedia and Pandora and all those other things that I use. When I go to another system, it'll bring those applications and install them for me really simply. So you can think about it, 2, 3 years, 4 years down the line, I get a new computer because my old computer broke. I sign into my new computer, all that stuff will just transfer over and transition very, very simply. And the same goes for all of my documents. This is what I use on a day-to-day basis. We use this for our company as well. There's a business version, but I use the personal version as well. And this is the OneDrive synchronization functionality. So as you can see here, on the left-hand side of your screen, when I went into my computer, I have an area that shows up that's called SkyDrive. Now, SkyDrive, just so everyone knows, Microsoft was in a legal battle recently. They had to rename SkyDrive to OneDrive. So you'll probably start seeing the OneDrive show up more often, but there are some pieces on your computer that may show as SkyDrive. So just know that they are one and the same. They just had to change the name of the product. But the OneDrive functionality allows me now to, since I'm signed into it, I can go ahead and I can save things into my OneDrive account, and it will show up in my Microsoft account for me. So why is this nice? Very simply, I save something into my SkyDrive folder here, like this Windows 8 class folder. All of these items are things that I use to build this class out for myself, like the PowerPoint presentation, the actual agenda for the class I saved in here in my OneDrive. Now take a look at this. Here's just one of the things that I can do with this. I can go to OneDrive.com, sign into my account for myself, and did you notice that all these folders are the same as they are on my desktop here? Do those look similar to you? Well, let me put them in the same position here, like that. It's an exact replica of what's on my computer. So as I was saying, I saved them on my computer into my SkyDrive area, and they show up on my online account. Why is this nice functionality? Someone just talked about backup drive. I bought a backup drive to back up all my stuff. And that's how we used to do it. We always had to buy a backup or a flash drive or an external hard drive or get a cloud backup service because we were always afraid of losing things. I'm not afraid of losing anything anymore because as long as it's saved in my OneDrive side of my computer, it's available on my web account. So that class agenda I just showed you that I built in Microsoft Word, I can open up right on the web for myself. Let me go into my Windows 8 class folder. Let me go into my agenda. And that same document that I had open here is the same one that I can work on right in my web browser. And that's just one of the functionalities. It's probably the coolest. It's why I show it off, because I think it's pretty neat that you can do something like this now. But you think about it from a security perspective. I lose my computer. Am I really that concerned about losing that machine? Not really. I know this machine is encrypted already. It's fully locked down. If some thief stole it, they can't get into it unless they really knew my password. I really don't care. They can take the machine. All of my files are safe. I didn't lose anything. All my grad school work and bachelor's work and all my presentations that I've made are all saved in a proper folder and synchronized, and I can search through them and pull them up on any other system. I sign into another Windows 8 computer and sign into my Microsoft account, all those folders synchronize to it. So now I can work at my office on the same files on my work computer as I do on my home computer, or at my family member's house. If I had a machine at my parents' house and I signed into that Windows 8 machine, I can work on all those files on there as well. So the cloud gives us a lot of functionality with synchronizing between multiple computers and giving us that automatic backup. And that's why I said, do you need a backup drive anymore? Not really. If you put it all into OneDrive for yourself, you really don't have to worry about doing an extra backup because it's doing the backup for you behind the scenes.
Can I back up quicken files after that?
You can put quicken files in there. Yes, you can.
What about pictures?
You can put pictures in there. I've got a whole folder for pictures in here that I save for myself.
So there's no need for like a Dropbox where you pay $9.99 a month.
No.
This is all free.
No.
It's part of
This is
Windows
much better than Dropbox. Dropbox doesn't have an online version of Office. Dropbox doesn't give you as much free storage space. They give you 7 gigabytes free on this service. Dropbox, I think, starts at 2 gigabytes or 5. So it's...
So you get 7 gigs free.
7 gigs free, and you can purchase up to 100 gigabytes, I believe. It might be higher than that. They've been adjusting, they've been increasing all the storage space limits you can purchase, so that I might be wrong, but it was 100 gigabytes last I checked. And it's very cheap. For the personal side, I think 100 gigabytes per year is something like 40 bucks or something for the whole year. So that gives you the synchronization, that gives you the automatic backup, and the capability to use Office Online to edit all your documents wherever you are. So it's pretty cost effective. It's probably one of the cheapest synchronization cloud backup services that I work with.
How new is this?
How what?
How new is the SkyDrive that's now OneDrive? When did this
SkyDrive has been around in some fashion since about 2009, 2010, so it's been around for a few years, but it's become really center focused now in the last year and a half since Windows 8 has been out. I think it's a very solid product. Like I said, we run our whole business file system off of it, and we run out my personal, I save all my personal files on it.
Can I delete a file on SkyDrive but keep it on Word on the computer?
Sure. As long as you take it out of your folder, that's somewhere within the SkyDrive area. So remember, it's just a matter of where are you saving it. If you're saving it into your SkyDrive area on your computer, over here, any folder that goes underneath there, underneath the OneDrive or SkyDrive, then it will go ahead and do the synchronization. If you move it out somewhere else into your My Documents or My Pictures area in your computer, it won't get synchronized.
So you can save the stuff.
You still can save stuff that you don't want touching the cloud into the traditional computer side of your computer. Okay? But I tell people, you know what? Just use that OneDrive functionality, save those things under OneDrive, because if you ever get your computer stolen or lost, or a virus just takes the whole system down, it's as simple as setting up the new computer, signing in, and everything's back as it was before. Couldn't be any easier. I can't make it any easier.
So old computers on XP.
Yes.
I was able to go to SkyDrive.
Yep.
And transfer files, but will it sync?
It will. So that's a good first step, actually. So you can go ahead and move everything into SkyDrive first, get a new Windows 8 computer for yourself. When you sign in, all that stuff will show up just like on mine and pull down to your computer.
All right. The new computer I have is 8.1.
Okay.
But I can't sync with the XP.
If that's the case, you didn't use the same account to get into both systems. You moved your files up into a different email account than the account you're using on your Windows 8 computer. That's most likely what's happening. People just made different accounts and they forget sometimes which account they use. You have to make sure it's the same account that you're using. Okay? So that's the OneDrive functionality. Again, 7 gigabytes completely free. You make a Microsoft account, you have access to that. If you need more storage space, I think my account, I got a few free upgrades from Microsoft. So I think my account's at almost 30 gigs or 26 gigs right now. You could purchase more space for yourself. And to be honest, I would say as much as you can save in there, just save it there. Because you'd never have to worry about a backup then. As long as it's touching OneDrive, it's touching the cloud and it's getting backed up for you. Okay, and Microsoft's got very solid secure systems, very hefty security on this functionality that they're giving us. The same power that they put into securing the business side of it is the same stuff they give the personal side of it, so it's very rock solid. I wouldn't be saving my entire digital life history in here if it wasn't safe and secure. So you can take my word on that. Okay, and if you're interested in learning more about this, about how this works, come to my class next Saturday morning at Linolnwood Library. I'm going to be showing from start to finish how to set this up, how to use it, how the Office web apps work, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to go really deeply into OneDrive next Saturday, okay? Well, it's about 11:36, we got about 20 minutes, and I still want to get some Q&A. So let's move on to traditional desktop. So traditional desktop is what I'm using here today for us to show off this screen right here, the desktop that we know and love, that we've always been used to. And as I said, it does exist in here. And the reason it exists is because there's a lot of programs, traditional products, like Microsoft Office and apps like this that just don't exist on the start screen interface yet. So we do need this capability to be able to work in here. If I wanted to get into my desktop interface from my start screen, all I have to do is use my desktop tile on the left-hand side here. So desktop is actually a tile that you go into to gain entrance into first time when you turn your computer on. After you jump into it once, it'll be open behind the scenes and you can go into it. So you can see Microsoft's thinking here. The desktop interface is actually a application portal on your computer that you have to hop into. So when I click on desktop, it takes me into my desktop screen. And anything I leave running over here still stays running even if I'm hopping between different programs for myself. Okay? There is a start button, as I said, on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. That start button exists only to use as a hop between the start screen and the desktop interface. So if you thought that you could left-click on it and bring up a menu, you're wrong. It'll bring you into the start screen interface. That's the point. Microsoft brought it back just to make people a little more comfortable with the radical changes of Windows 8. The only thing you can do in terms of a menu on this button is to right-click on it. And if you right-click on it, I'll show you what comes up here. Oh. If you right-click on it, you get some options for some quick hit areas of Windows. So some of these things that I would say more power users are used to, things people like myself, I can jump into programs and features area. I could jump into my device manager, my system properties. I could even go into control panel, start a search from here, the run command. So some of those things that we're used to from the old start button do exist on here, but it's again not as expansive as it used to be. But there are some new things that you can get into faster that people like me, like IT pros like the event viewer and things that I use on a daily basis. So I like some of the items that they did here. If you right-click on it, you can also shut your computer down really quickly from this button too. This is how I personally shut my machine down or do restarts now on Windows 8.1. I right-click on the button and I do shut down or sign out. And as you can see, I have the options now to restart, shut down, go to sleep, or sign myself out of my account from there. So again, that's that same functionality that I showed up the charms bar by clicking on the settings button and hitting power. Same options we got over there, we get over here. It's just, again, if you're in the desktop interface, this might be faster for you since you're already here, and if you want to start one of those commands, you can very simply go into that menu for yourself. So that's probably the thing I use the most off that little right-click menu is that those options right there for power. Okay? The taskbar. The taskbar is, again, this big bar at the bottom of the screen over here, holds all of your running applications, holds all of your pinned taskbar items that you have on your desktop interface. And there's a few things Microsoft did to improve this in Windows 8. So one of the things that I like a lot are these jump lists. And I think these existed in Windows 7 as well, but they made them a little bit better in Windows 8. So for example, I have pinned my Microsoft Word and Excel icons, and if I right click on them, I get a quick pick list for all the most recent items that I've been working on here. And I can quickly go into them. So that's called the jump list. And I use this quite often. Things that I was in maybe 3 or 4 or 5 documents ago, instead of using that recent documents item inside of Microsoft Word or Excel, I use my jump list all the time. Very, very useful for me. That's for any of the Office programs and other programs as well. If you right click on Google Chrome, it'll give you some of the recent sites you've been on, or Internet Explorer. So again, makes it easy for you to get to those different items that you were in previously, to just jump right back into them for yourself. Make life a little bit easier for you in that manner. If you wanted to go ahead and add a desktop shortcut for yourself, this is a little tricky in Windows 8. Microsoft includes the functionality, but they don't hit you over the head with it. It's one of those things that they don't really want you making as many shortcuts as you used to. But you can still do it. So let me show you how. Go back to your start screen and say you wanted to make a shortcut for yourself for Microsoft Publisher, for example. Let's go ahead and find Publisher. So I'm going to do a search for it. Start doing a search with Publisher. There we go. So Publisher, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on that search result, and I'm going to go ahead and use this option here where it says Open File Location. What this does is bring up the area behind the scenes in Windows where this shortcut actually sits in the computer. So these are all of my Office programs, and I can go ahead and take one of these shortcuts. I was looking for Publisher, for example, and I can just drag and drop that on my desktop. Now I'm doing a right-click drag, right-click hold, drag to my desktop, and now I'm going to do a copy here. And that's how I made a regular, traditional desktop shortcut. Now it works like a shortcut that you've always been used to. So again, it was a lot easier in Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows Vista. It's a little bit tougher now because you have to do that right-click and do Open File Location, but you can still make desktop shortcuts for yourself. And the same way goes for making a taskbar pin shortcut. So let's find Publisher once again. We'll right-click on it, and I can do, well, it's pinned to my taskbar already, which is why it shows unpin. So I'm going to unpin it. But if I wanted to pin it to my taskbar, I could just do pin to taskbar. Now when I go back to my desktop, there it is, right on my taskbar for me. Okay, so any traditional program that runs in the desktop interface, I can make a pinned or a desktop shortcut for, just like we've always been doing in Windows. It's just an extra hoop you have to go through now. Okay? Some of the improvements they've made with the Windows Explorer. Windows Explorer is what we know as My Computer. I'm going into My Computer for myself, okay? So if I go into Windows Explorer, some of the things that they've changed around in here that you'll notice is that you always used to have this big menu that showed up on the top. It's gone now. They've introduced what's called the ribbon interface. If you've used Office since version 2007, you've known about the ribbon. You've used the ribbon. The ribbon's now been extended into the Windows Explorer interface. So the same way that those menu options have been hidden under these pinned little categories is the same way that it works in Windows 8. So it doesn't show up by default, but if I want to get into it, I can bring it up by using those big buttons there. And now I have all the same options that I used to have. Navigation pane options, changing my icon styles, folder options, all those different things that we used to go into the menus for are just in the ribbon interface now. Okay? And if you want that showing all the time, use the little drop-down button over here, and you can expand the ribbon to have it show all the time for you. I keep it minimized for myself because my screen's a little bit smaller on my laptop. I want as much real estate as possible, so I keep it minimized. But I can change it on the fly for myself. Okay? And the other thing I wanted to show off is on the upper left-hand corner is what's called, they call this the Quick Access Toolbar. And this allows you to put the most common functionality right up on your toolbar for yourself, on the top of the screen. So as you can see here, I have little shortcuts that I can do undo, I can do a delete, I can do a new folder for myself, but maybe you want something different. So go ahead and adjust it for yourself. Click on the little down arrow, and now you'll see all the different options that you get. So I have turned on all those options that are checked, but I could also turn on redo, rename, and depending on whatever the computer you're in, you can change that for yourself as well. So these options exist for Microsoft Office and also for the Windows Explorer interface as well. Okay, so make some of those most common tasks and functionalities a little bit quicker to find for you. Okay, if I didn't want something, if I didn't want the redo or undo button, I could just uncheck it and it will take it off the screen for me and it won't show. So now I have a completely clean quick access toolbar. Okay? So again, as you can see, customization is what this new version of Windows is all about. Changing things so it allows you to work the way you want to work. Customization is really, really heavy in Windows 8. I'm going to touch on the Task Manager really quick. The Control-Alt-Delete that we're all known and used to. If you run Windows XP, you have to use this quite often because your computer always freezes up. So the Task Manager, if I do a Control-Alt-Delete and I go into Task Manager, by default, this is all that's going to show. A very, very simple list that shows you all the different things that are running. So as before, you always, if you wanted to close something out that froze, you had to know the technical name of it behind the scenes. A lot of times it's named properly, sometimes it wasn't. Now Microsoft made it very simple. Any average user can go in and say, hey, my fresh paint is frozen. I can click on it and do an end task to close that application, or my Windows Store, or my Maps. Any of those programs that are open, I can close and force them out if they're not running properly. So if I wanted to close out of Maps because it was buggy or frozen, select it, do end task, and it closes it right out for me. Super simple, much easier than Task Manager has ever been in the prior versions of Windows. If you're one of those power users that wants to get a little geeky and see all the stuff behind the scenes, you can expand it by doing more details, and it brings you into this much more fuller view where you have a lot of different tabs you can go through, check performance on the machine, or the history of your programs that were running, what things are in your startup, all these things that technicians like myself are usually looking at, not normal users. So, but the functionality is up to you. You can change it and just go back to regular interface if you want to. Okay? And Task Manager again is just a Control-Alt-Delete and hitting Task Manager. And you can get to that right on the desktop interface for yourself. The new control panel that they have, I'm not going to go too far into it, but I will show off some of the items. To get the control panel, there's two ways to do it. You can use the Start button and right-click on it, go to Control Panel, or you can do the Charms bar option. Lower right-hand corner with your mouse or finger. Settings, Control Panel. Brings up the same area for us. And I'm just going to highlight some of the new things that have been introduced in this new version of Windows. I'm not going to deep dive into them because we're running a little bit short on time. A few things that I want to highlight. Devices and printers, this is one area you go into to check on all your printers and anything you have attached to your computer. So unlike Windows XP where you had a different printers area, you had a device manager for all the other devices. Devices and printers is your one go-to place for everything on your machine. Super simple, super easy. Family safety. Where is it? There it is. Family safety. If you have little kids in the house and you used to purchase things like NetNanny to keep them safe on the web in terms of web browsing, I will tell you, you don't have to purchase that anymore because Microsoft has finally done parental controls right. Family safety not only allows you to set up times and website lists where your kids can go to or can't go to, but you can set browsing safe times. So say, for example, after 8 o'clock, Johnny can't go on the web. You can set that up in here. You can set up where he can't play World of Warcraft or Minecraft or those other games that kids love after 7 o'clock at night because he's supposed to be doing homework. So you can go in and you can set that up for yourself on here. Block lists and word filters for what kind of words they can't search for. All those different things exist under here. So very powerful. So I used to tell people to buy NetNanny. Not anymore. With Windows 8.1, you don't have to purchase any third-party software for yourself. File history. Another neat option. If you've ever used Apple's Time Machine, this is like Time Machine on steroids. You can go back in history and you can set this up to set up, say, where you wanted to keep 30 copies of any Word document that you work on. Any changes that are made, and you can go back and configure this so that you can jump back and say, hey, the Word document in the way it existed 4 days ago, I want to go back and I want to find that file for myself. you can configure file history to work just in that same kind of manner. So it's that backup copy. It's not OneDrive where it saves it to the cloud. This is more of where your computer is saving shadow copies of previous versions of your files.
So that you're not saving copy 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it yourself.
Right.
The program's smart enough to know that, hey, she's working on this a day after, she's making major changes, let's put that other copy in reserve in case she wants to go back and find it for herself. So if you've used Time Machine, it's exactly like Time Machine. Storage spaces. Let's see. Oh, my zooming is getting a little psychedelic here. Okay, storage spaces. Storage spaces you can use to connect multiple external hard drives in your computer to make one big storage pool for yourself. We use this on our server system at our office to combine multiple hard drives to make one big storage area. You can do this now in the consumer version of Windows. Storage spaces, you can take 2 external hard drives. Maybe one of them is 1 terabyte, another is 3 terabytes. You can combine them into a 4 terabyte hard drive. One single drive that shows up within Windows for you. So this allows you to pool different things like flash drives, external hard drives for yourself. I can't think of any others, maybe SD storage cards. You can combine things to your heart's content. So that's storage spaces. Windows Mobility Center. There we are. Mobility Center is for laptop users. It's a quick area where you can go into to change screen resolution, power settings, Wi-Fi controls, presentation controls. If you're someone on the go that does presentations like myself, or you're changing between airplane mode and turning on your Wi-Fi on and off, this is the quick area you can go into to turn all those different functionalities on or off for yourself. So that's called Windows Mobility Center. You used to have to go to multiple different areas before. Microsoft said, let's just give them one place to go. So that's Mobility Center. In Windows Update, just like before, this is where we've always installed patches for ourselves and updates from Microsoft. Windows Update is now smart enough to go ahead and do patches and updates no matter when the computer is turned on or turned off. So before, if you remember, you always had to tell the computer, check for updates at 2 in the morning, or check for updates at 5 p.m., or check for updates at 10 p.m. And if the computer was off, it didn't always get those updates applied. Windows 8 fixes all that. So pretty much you have just a few options. You can tell it never to check for updates or always check for updates and install them automatically. And it's smart enough to know, hey, Janice doesn't use her computer at 5 o'clock. Let's check for updates instead at 2 p.m. It'll go ahead and make that adjustment for itself. So updates are super simple, and I really haven't seen many update issues on Windows 8.1. So it's very clean. It works the way automatic updates were supposed to work. So it's very clean and it works very well. Last thing I'm going to go over on the agenda, the shortcuts that I use the most that you want to remember. When I'm in the desktop interface, I use Alt-Tab a lot on my keyboard. And Alt-Tab allows me to scroll through really quickly between all my things that I have open. As you can see, I'm just going through between everything. So if you're a keyboard user, this is a keyboard shortcut that you might want to know about. Alt-Tab. It's on the agenda. On the back, I have a best shortcuts to remember. Hold down Alt and hit Tab, and you can scroll through really quickly all of your apps that you have open. Windows key and X brings up that same menu that happens if you right-click on the Start button. So the reason I had that there is because Windows 8 didn't have this menu come up because there was no Start button. 8.1 they included it, so I still have the keyboard shortcut. I personally use the mouse, and I just right-click on it. But if you're a keyboard user, you can do Windows key X to bring up that same menu for yourself. And of course, that same thing is if you right-click on it, as I showed, that same little quick pick list of options for yourself. And the last thing I'm going to say before we get to Q&A, if you're someone that just can't handle the start screen and just can't figure out how to use all this neat functionality in Windows 8, if you're used to the Start button for yourself and you really want to get it back, even though Microsoft doesn't let you use it without a third-party tool, there is something called Start Menu 8. And I'll show you how this looks. Start Menu 8 is a free program you can install that allows you to bring back the Start menu you used to have in Windows 7, completely free. So again, I don't want to tell you to do this right off the bat. Try using Windows 8 the way it's meant to be used. But if you're a holdout and refuse to use the new Start screen or that, this is about the closest replica to the traditional Start menu that I've been able to find. So it's called Start Menu 8. I put a link on it right on the back of the agenda. Install it for yourself, and you can work with Windows 8 like a Windows 7 user. So that's that. I brought it up because I do get asked about it at least once every class, so There you go. That's my recommendation for a start menu. But try using Windows 8 without a start menu. As I said, I was a little culture shocked when I started using it back in 2012. I really don't care that the start menu's gone. I think searching for things and the start screen is so much faster now that the start button to me and the start menu is more of a time loser than a time saver. So I don't like the start menu anymore. I think searching for things and the new functionalities make my life a lot easier. It takes time. You have to get adjusted to it and learn it. But once you do get adjusted, I think you'll start noticing some of those time savings that I've been leveraging myself for the last year and a half. And that's my presentation. Let's go into Q&A. Let's see what people are looking to hear about. Any questions that we have from the crowd? Yes?
As you know, this is a new laptop.
Yes.
Right? And I'm trying to connect to the internet, but it says other people might be able to see your info if you connect to this network. What do you do?
Yeah, so that's a security concern that they're making you aware of, is that in general, when you're in public places like a library or Starbucks or McDonald's, if you're on their Wi-Fi, you should not be doing things of a confidential nature, like using your bank accounts, using things like putting your social security number into websites. Because there's always a possibility that there could be some kind of attacker on the network that is sniffing out what everyone else is doing. That's why they warn you about that. So when you're in public places, you shouldn't be doing online banking. You shouldn't be doing things where there's a lot of confidential info passing over your connection.
Can a next door neighbor steal from you also?
In general, no. Unless your network is unprotected without a password, if you have a password on it, unless they know that password, they have no entrance on your network.
Good.
You have the brick wall up and no one can get in that brick wall. So just make sure you have some kind of password on your wireless and that it's you're not giving it out to neighbors or leaving it up out in the open or making it something super simple like the numbers of your street address. Don't make it too easy to guess, because you never know when someone might be piggybacking off your connection. That's more of a security class topic. We have our security class we just did last month on our YouTube channel. It's on our agenda. I'll go over that just a little bit, but you can watch our security class that we did. We went over all those things about how to save securely, how to use open Wi-Fi, all those things. Any other questions? Go ahead.
So is there a way that I can transfer my stuff from my XP computer to here without putting it on a flash drive? And, you know?
Yeah, you could. You could download the free SkyDrive. There's a SkyDrive program for Windows XP in May. Does SkyDrive work in Windows XP? It does function? Okay, because they're going to turn off that functionality in a few months once Windows XP goes out. So it works right now. It's going to stop working in a little bit.
I guess I'm a little confused on how I do that.
Well, I have it done.
If you send me an email, I can send you step by step what is entailed with it. I'm not going to go over right now. It's too involved to talk
because
about.
I did
But it can be done. You can't do it yourself.
Drive and I thought I would put it, but I
if you have a flash drive, that might be the simplest way.
Yeah.
Because if you have to go for the SkyDrive route, there's a few humps you're going to have to go over. A flash drive is super simple.
When I put my flash drive in, nothing pops up like it.
You have to go through and actually move those items off of it. So again, that's a question that we might have to talk about one-on-one, okay?
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes?
Go ahead.
This is more of a subjective question, might be a little biased, but if you're considering purchasing a new computer in the next month, okay, I understand that iPad 3 is coming out and it's going to have Office on it, and they're going to.
It's not going to be the Office that we use on the desktop.
It's going to be.
It's going to be a bare bones. It's going to be very, very limited Office.
Very limited Office.
It's going to be a decade at least before Office gets to the point where it is in the desktop on an iPad.
Okay.
If you're planning on using Office in a professional setting or using it for anything important, I wouldn't make iPad your first go-to option for Office. It's going to be very limited.
Unless you run dual.
Unless you run dual, and it's just a backup option. But I would make it your forerunner for getting work done. You're going to be very disappointed.
Okay, so I'm considering getting a new computer. Obviously, my computer is old. It's probably 2007.
Sure.
I'm running XP right now, and I have an iPhone, but I'm a little confused. Is Microsoft still playing catch up, or have they caught up to where Apple is?
Catch up to what?
Well, it seems like they've got the apps, the Tile. It's a new interface, and
I think Microsoft's ahead of the curve, to be honest. I think Apple's behind. Apple doesn't have any touch laptop devices or desktop devices out yet. I think their iPad side is very good, but in terms of a laptop or desktop computer, I think a Windows 8 machine blows away an Apple device. I'm sorry. That's just my personal belief. neat functionality. I mean, I don't know. I think everything I've shown today would say, wow, that's pretty cool.
It is wow. It is
yeah.
wow. I'll tell you that.
A lot of neat stuff on it.
I'm considering ditching my iPhone for an Android system.
Okay.
And going with the whole Microsoft 8.1.
Okay.
You know, that's what I'm considering doing. I mean, also that split screen that you were talking about before. Do I need to buy a separate device to have it on 3 different monitors, or is it part of 8.1?
What do you mean? If you have an extra monitor already, like if you have two screens already?
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 monitors, and I want to watch.
You need nothing more.
Nothing more.
Nothing more. The computer will recognize how much real estate you have on those screens, and it'll allow you to do 2 splits, like I was doing, or 3 splits, and I've seen people with 4 splits, 4 split options. So you could get pretty crazy with your splits.
And last question, you talked about the antivirus.
Yes.
Okay. Does Microsoft still install a little file with Norton antivirus on it, with all these?
That's not Microsoft that does that. That's the computer manufacturer you bought the machine from that does that.
But when you get a new operating system,
it depends on who you buy it from.
Okay.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Because I've encountered where the 2 antiviruses fight one another.
Yeah.
And then the system.
In general, you don't want to have 2 antivirus programs.
So
for all of our customers, we always recommend the ESET product, only ESET. You don't need 2 programs. I don't like Norton, I don't like McAfee. They don't run that well, or they let a lot of things in behind the scenes. If you want one recommendation, use ESET, get rid of the other ones, even if your machine came
How
with
can I get rid of the other ones if it's already pre-installed?
You go into the control panel, you go into programs and features, and you'll have an option that says Norton 360 or Norton Security.
Right.
Click on it, uninstall it, and it's gone. Simple as that. Not as easy as a start screen app, but you can still get rid of it.
Okay.
So
It doesn't force itself to stay in your
you think
computer.
which one is the best? The
ESET NOD 32. I think I put a link on the back of the agenda for you. You can find it without that link. That's what we use. We protect all of our business clients with it. I've been running it personally for the last almost a decade. I've never had a virus on my machine. I'm a tech user, I'm a little different, but still, most customers that get it, we don't have virus problems with. It's the other people that we have virus problems with.
Is it a free program?
It's not free. There's no good free antivirus anymore.
When you buy
I wish I could
a
say
new
it
computer,
was.
they'll give it to you for 1 year. Free.
You get a trial for 90 days usually
90
with
days.
most new computers.
This is 1 year now.
Oh, maybe you got a 1 year trial. Okay. So use out your trial, and then I'd say move on to a paid option, like ESET or whatever.
Yeah,
you
well,
prefer.
it is. It's not Norton.
Okay.
Norton is not any good anymore.
Any other questions? Windows 8, new computers, anything?
Office 2007.
Yep.
Will that work with Windows 8.1?
Office 2007. I will say tentatively yes, but I'm not 100% sure. Check the compatibility center. They might have dropped support for Office 2007.
If you have a Vista computer operating system, can you upgrade to 8.1 on that computer?
Most likely yes. Most likely yes. Check the compatibility center. There's even in the compatibility center like an upgrade assistant you can run. It's like a program that will check everything in your machine, and it will tell you yes or no whether or not you can do an upgrade easily on it. If there's too many devices in there that just aren't compatible, it will say you're probably better off buying a new computer. Unless you can go and tinker and replace the things inside that need to be replaced. Any other questions?
What is that ribbon interface? Is that just like what's on Word, the top bars?
So the ribbon is actually in 2 different areas. It's on the Windows Explorer when you go into My Computer interface on the desktop. And it was that top bar that I showed you that lets you install those little quick options like undo, new folder, delete. That's the quick access bar that shows up there. That's also been around in Office since version 2007. So that's why that same functionality is now in the Windows My Computer interface.
Okay.
Okay? And other programs are starting to use that same kind of ribbon style of quick access as well. So it's not just those 2 things. There are more programs that are going to be using it. Anyone else?
I want to put Office on 8.1, and they mentioned there's 3 different ways you can go or something.
In terms of putting it on a system like this?
Yeah.
So the 2 biggest ways that I showed off today, one is the free option. You can use the OneDrive, and there's a free online version of Office, online version of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, completely free. They're not as full featured as the paid version, of course, because they're still playing catch up, but it's still better than what you could get on like an Android or an iPad. Much better than that. So if you don't want to pay for Office, come to my OneDrive class and I'll show you how you can use the free version and use that in a web browser for yourself.
Loaded up.
Or the paid version, of course, you can buy a full copy of Office 2013 and get all the bells and whistles that you want.
That's more than my computer.
It's expensive, yes.
So you don't recommend the Open Office?
I would say Open OpenOffice is decent. LibreOffice is another good alternative. I just find that their functions and the kind of file fidelity they present, that in terms of breaking files and formatting on people, from what I've seen in my experience, it's sometimes too much for people to bear. So I usually tell people, if you want to try LibreOffice or OpenOffice, give it a try. A lot of times I find people saying, hey, I just want to use the OneDrive Office web apps because I just want that Office experience, you know. But I still want something free, so that's a good middle ground. Using the OneDrive with the Office web apps is a good free middle ground for you. Anything else? We're nearing the finishing line here.
I'm in a one-girl office downtown, and I need to update the computer there. But I've kind of heard that a lot of offices, and I'm thinking of maybe changing my job soon, but I've heard that a lot of offices aren't really using Windows 8. Is there some...
Yes, there is a bias against Windows 8 because a lot of corporate tech departments don't want to go out and do user training on the new interface. That's why there's a lot of hatred against it.
I'm way back. I'm on like a 2003 Word or something, you know. So I don't know if I should go up to 7 or
In a
10
business environment, I have a lot of customers that go to Windows 7 and use that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But if they're open to learning the new system, because the new interface is not going away. So people think that they're just going to stick with Windows 7 forever. When you get your next computer, you won't have an option to go to Windows 7.
I guess
you're going to be forced on this at some point.
Yeah, which is
so you either go through it now and you learn, or you just delay the learning until later on. That's what I tell people. So it's up to you. If you're not comfortable with this kind of change so quickly, maybe understand Windows 7, and then your next computer upgrade, you'll be doing a Windows 8 or Windows 9 or Windows 10 at that point.
My concern is I'd like to learn something over the next handful of months, and I'll be changing my job soon, but I don't know where I'll be going or what they'll have. So I'm a little fearful of what to learn now.
Yeah, I will be completely honest. Windows 8 in the workplace, in the business environment, is not that heavy yet. It's not. Windows 7's been around, and Windows 7 solved a lot of the problems that Windows XP had, so a lot of businesses made the shift to Windows 7. So a lot of businesses are just finishing up their upgrade cycles on that. So it's tough for businesses to make another hop to Windows 8 so soon. So that's why you don't see it as heavily yet. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see that penetration start picking up. It will. If you know how to use Windows 7, I'll say this. If you know how to use Windows 7, if you know how to use Microsoft Office, you'll be just fine in the workplace. Yes?
You mentioned stability, etc. And remember with the XP in the old days where you're constantly loading service packs and running updates. We're already gone to 8.1, but what do you foresee in terms of having to do those types of updates and for your...
Well, let me say this. I mean, there's no such thing as installing a computer and never having updated.
Right.
If you get an Apple system, if you're doing your automatic updates on there, you're getting your new versions of Lion and Snow Leopard and all the versions of that. So it's not like anyone puts a computer on your desk and you don't have to update or to patch it. I will say that the problems, the security messes that Microsoft had in the early 2000s of Windows XP, which is why I say if you have XP still, you need to get off that bad system. But Windows 8, and Windows 7 started the trend, Windows 8 is that much more solid. The updates just work, the security patches just happen. It takes care of itself for the most part. You really don't have to worry about like you did back in the day.
That's why when
it's a set it and forget it kind of system, as opposed to the Windows XP, Windows Vista, where you had to really be worried, do I have the latest updates and all that?
And do you have an hour to wait while it does the installs?
Yeah, Windows 8.1 does all the updates behind the scenes. It'll just tell you, hey, updates are installed, restart your computer when you get a chance. Simple as that. So it's very safe, very solid, secure. All of our workstations at our company are running Windows 8.1 now. Haven't had any major issues, and all the customers I have on this, not many big problems as well. The biggest thing I find is the usability training. Going through and getting people trained on how to use the interface. That is really the biggest roadblock. It's not because it doesn't work well, it's not because it's got bugs behind the scenes, it's just because it's a culture shock. You know? It's like someone giving you a phone you've never worked with. You're used to using an iPhone and someone gives you a Windows phone or someone gives you an Android and you got to make an adjustment for yourself. So it's a usability kind of thing. It's not because the system is bad or has glitches or bugs. It works really well. You just have to know how to use it. Just like your car, just like anything else in your life.
I have another question about XP. me
Okay.
and an old computer. You know, we have the desktop at home on the first floor,
Yeah.
which I think, you know, it's always older than you think it is.
Yeah.
I wanna say 4 or 5, you think it was about, if you remember? It's like the one you took.
I think that desktop that you have is closer to 5 or 6 years old. I think it was one of the last XP systems that were sold on the market, so you sort of hit it on the tail end when it was out there, and that's what happened there. To be honest, though, we could probably get that upgraded to Windows 7 or Windows 8.
Yeah, 'cause I know.
We probably could. We know for a fact. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem.
Oh, okay.
It's just you have a lot of programs on there, as we saw, and it's a very particular situation with that machine.
Well, I gotta get my own computer, because there's video games
Yeah.
here and
Yep. Any other questions? Yes?
If you were gonna buy a new phone,
Mhm.
okay, a Windows phone or an Android system, to work with, in conjunction with your laptop, what type of phone would you recommend, if you could? What's the best
I personally would say either going an Android or Windows phone are probably very good options. Even iPhone's a good option. My girlfriend Lindsay, she uses a Android phone. I personally use a Windows phone. I like the Windows phone a lot. Better battery life than I ever had on an Android. Very safe, secure, and all my OneDrive stuff seamlessly just works between
So I can move things back and forth, interchange with
The cleanest experience is going to be on a Windows phone. If you like this kind of synchronization that you see here, the Windows phone is a natural
And what
experience.
about the apps on the Windows phone?
What was that?
What about the apps on the Windows phone?
They have the same kind of store like they do over here. The Windows store apps, they're called. Or Windows Phone apps.
Windows Phone apps.
But they work the same way. You go in the store, you purchase them, or you just install them, and there's a lot of overlap. Not everything that's on the Windows store on the computer side is in the phone store. Likewise, the phone store has some things that are different than the computer side store, but they're slowly becoming one. Microsoft's forcing developers to merge everything, so there's going to be a day, maybe a year or two from now, where anything you put on your phone is going to get installed in your computer as well for you. So that day's coming. It's just not here just yet. Yeah, but the interface, if you learn how to use this, the interface on the phone is the same. So that's the nice part about it. The live tile interface works the same way.
Are you familiar with a stretched app?
What do you
familiar with that term?
Stretched app?
Walt Mossberg, who's CNBC editor, tech editor, says the iPhone uses traditional apps, and then every other version is stretched apps.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
So that's because, unlike Microsoft, that's forcing developers to actually make the apps work with both ecosystems on the computer and the phone side. Apple says, hey, you can make an app for the iPhone and you can release it for the iPad as well, and it stretches it out. So that's why things look sloppy sometimes if it's meant for the iPhone and you put it on your iPad, because it's running as a stretched app. It was never meant to work on the iPad, but Apple said, hey, you can do it, it'll just blow it up on the screen. And I've seen people that do that with some of the apps that were meant for the phone and work on the iPad, but they don't look that great, because they all look all pixelated, and it just, you know something's off with them. So, yes?
A lot of these have Internet Explorer. Is Google Chrome run around?
Google Chrome's my favorite browser.
Yeah.
It's what we usually recommend. It is the safest browser to use on any computer system. You can get it for Mac or a Windows computer.
And
It's updated every 2 weeks. It's a very good browser.
It just takes a little bit of time to adjust.
It just takes a little time to learn, yeah, because it has a lot less buttons and things on the interface compared to Internet Explorer or Firefox. So it's a little different.
Let me just jump in for a second. Does everybody who wants to sign up for the raffle sign up for the raffle?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure you get your ticket in there, otherwise you have no chance of winning a goodie bag.
I just don't
I have a
want to
ticket.
take up too much time if anybody still needs it.
And if there are any other questions, feel free to raise your hand.
Did I have one?
Is there anybody else who hasn't had one?
Yes.
My wife has a notebook computer with 8 on it, and I've been on it, and I didn't know how to really navigate around it. But there are times where I'll be typing something, and all of a sudden that window disappears that I'm typing on, and something else appears. What is that?
Most likely what's going on is a laptop, right? The laptop probably has a touchpad that's too sensitive. It's noticing your palm swiping against it. I see a lot of Dells with this issue. The consumer line Dells have this problem a lot. You have to go into your control panel, turn your mouse sensitivity down, your touchpad sensitivity. And a lot of the new laptops have an option that's called like finger sensitivity, where it notices that your finger or your hand is actually over it. and it stops it from doing that. Because what it's doing is you're typing, even if you don't know it. I had it happen to myself. This is why a lot of people brought this up to me. But you're typing and your palm is just briefly swiping over the touchpad, and that's what's initiating probably the tap to click that's moving something else in or out of focus on you.
And this is
95% of the time, that's what it is.
And that's in your mouse settings?
That's in your mouse settings, yeah. Every manufacturer is different. On the Dell, they call it touch sensitivity, but there are options where you can adjust how much force you have to put down on the touchpad for it to notice it as a swipe or an actual click. And by default, for some reason, a lot of new laptops, they make them so sensitive where you breathe on it and it's almost moving the mouse. So that's the big issue there.
So it should be set low.
Set low, yeah. Turn sensitivity down.
Or like there's the option where you can tap on the mouse pad.
Yeah, some have that as well. Yeah, so your laptop has that, and yours, I believe, and HP has a lot of times. But you can just turn off the touchpad completely when you're typing on it, just to turn it off all the way, and then you can turn it back on. So like HP's have a little dedicated button sometimes, where you can tap on it to turn the touchpad off, turn it on for yourself. That's probably the best option, but not all laptops have that. So the second option is just to turn your touch sensitivity down.
You were going to give us the place to find this video from today's presentation?
Yes, actually, it will be. There will be two ways that you can get it. Here's the agenda. So if you look on the agenda, if you look on the great resources for Windows 8 on the back, the third bullet point says FireLogic YouTube channel. As soon as this goes up on the internet, you will see it on that YouTube channel. It'll be the newest video that shows up.
Great.
And I should have that uploaded by end of this weekend. And also, I will email Julianne, and I will get her the link to this, the same way we do it now as in Park Ridge Libraries, and it will be emailed out to you as well if you signed up and registered with your email address. Am I correct in saying that?
That would be correct.
Okay. So she will get you a direct link to this video so you can rewatch it for yourself.
If I have your email address.
If she has her email, make sure she has her email.
So we can use split screens.
So you can do split screens, use all this neat stuff that they've introduced. Yes?
I'll work on getting it. We have a blog on our website, so if you go to our website and then go to news, I'll make sure we put the link up.
Perfect.
Oh, thank
Perfect.
you. Sure. So when you go to the store and buy Windows 8, is 8.1 supposed to be on there already?
8.1 should be on there. Any new machine that's sold in the store should have it. We all know that sometimes things sit on the shelves for a few months. 8.1's only been out since October, November of last year. So there could be systems still sitting on the shelf that only have 8. So that's why I tell everyone how to do the upgrade if you don't notice Windows 8.1 on your machine. So yes, very well, you could purchase an open box system or something that was sitting on the back of the shelf and it could have plain vanilla Windows 8. 6 months down the road, probably not going to be happening, but right now, it still is happening because I still am helping people do the upgrade on their machines. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you think about Apple having this? Because everybody talks about Apples, how wonderful they are. I even went into Best Buy to buy a flash drive, and I told the guy I have a new Dell, and he goes, but Apples are great. And I thought, he said I just want to bring a little bit more money. Oh, and my brother works
here, I will say this. There is a big part of the technology community, the ones that love Apple a lot, they tend to love Apple a lot, and they tend to bias their statements when they say things in that way. So the Apple community is very tight-knit, and they tend to support their product a lot, and that's why when you talk to someone that loves Apple, they're going to say what they want to say about Microsoft products. In the end, I think both ecosystems are great. I think both ecosystems have their place. I personally think that what Microsoft's doing with Windows 8 is starting to step ahead of what Apple's done over the last few years. Maybe Apple will come back and refresh something on the computer side that will make their side a lot more bright and bring the kind of functionality that I'm seeing in Windows 8. But right now, I think Microsoft has sort of picked it up and heading down a little faster path. So both are great. Both have their place. It's personal preference. I've been a long-time Windows guy. There are people that have been long-time Apple people, and they will continue to use what they want to use. But there's nothing wrong with either platform. That's what I'll say. Okay?
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we got a few gift bags to give away. So. Well, I thank everyone for coming. I'm going to shut off the recording so we don't get anyone's name on the recording itself. I appreciate you coming out. I'm going to have Lindsay grab 2 names out of the bucket. We'll hand out some freebies here. And as I'm shutting down, feel free to come by and ask me for further questions that you have. Anything longer that you didn't want to ask in front of the crowd or something else that came to mind, feel free. I'll be here for another 10-15 minutes, so just approach me about that, okay? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
And come to our other classes. We have a lot of great stuff that we're doing every month, so. All right, let me stop the recording here.